Welcome to the ultimate finishing school, the Octagon, where the fastest, the toughest, most powerful fighters in the world face off in the Ultimate Fighting Championship. Tonight, it's UFC 9, featuring the Clash of the Titans, Super Fight champion Ken Shamrock in the historic rematch with UFC 5 champion and ultimate winner Dan Severn. The Beast is back, and he's looking for revenge. Can he crush The Rock, or will Shamrock roll on as the UFC's first and only Super Fight champion? Plus, UFC 8 champion Don the Predator Frye versus Brazilian newcomer Jiu-Jitsu champ Amaury Bitetti. UFC veteran Mark Hall meets Japanese sumo champion Koji Kitao. And in a battle of the Canadian super heavyweights, dangerous David Bitetti tackles Gary Big Daddy Goodridge. All that and much more. UFC 9 is now in session, and it's strictly pass-fail. Are you ready? Let's open up the gate. We are in the city that put the U.S. on wheels, Detroit, Michigan. Our venue, Cobo Arena, which opened in 1959 and was the home of the NBA's Detroit Pistons in the 60s and the 70s. And tonight, sparks should be flying as we present the Ultimate Fighting Championship 9. Hello again, everyone. I'm Bruce Beck. Welcome to the most physical, the most powerful, the most provocative mixed martial arts competition in the world, the Ultimate Fighting Championship. Tonight, it's UFC 9, and it's punctuated by the Super Fight rematch between Ken Shamrock, the World Super Fight champion, and Dan the Beast Severn, who captured UFC 5 and was the ultimate winner. Now tonight we will have no single elimination tournament. It will be all bouts, 6 individual bouts on the evening. And a couple of changes to report. Mark Schultz replaces Dave Bitetti. Schultz, the 1984 Olympic gold medalist in freestyle wrestling. He replaces Bitetti, who broke his right hand in training. And also Marco Ruas, who was originally expected to compete, will be replaced by a fellow Brazilian jiu-jitsu artist, Amaury Bitetti. So the UFC, amidst the controversy, continues to stand firm and strong. Often imitated, never equaled. Let the real show begin. My broadcast partners tonight will help set up the super fight. And let's begin with the 1984 Olympic gold medalist in Greco-Roman wrestling in the super heavyweight division. Here's Jeff Blatnick.
Well, thank you very much, Bruce, and it is great to be in Detroit, and I'm here with Dan Severn. And Dan, in your opinion, tell us what happened in that first super fight.
Well, I don't know what to really say about the first super fight there. The match really didn't go all that long. The strategy that we kind of gone for, just nothing really clicked that evening. That's about all I can say about that.
Well, taking what you've learned from that first super fight with Shamrock, tell us, what have you taken from those lessons and applied to your training?
Well, I'm going to try to be a little bit more patient out there, kind of look a little bit more for the opening, not to try to force the opening to take place, and just keep a little bit slower, more methodical type match, and when the opening is there, go 100%.
What's next for Dan Severn in the UFC?
Ask me that question a couple hours from now there, Jeff. Right now I have only one thing on my mind. Later this evening, you ask me that question again.
Well, Dan, we want to wish you the very best of luck. Good luck here tonight. And I'd like to throw it to my broadcast partner, fellow analyst, Don the Dragon Wilson.
Thank you, Jeff. I'm here in the dressing room with the current UFC Super Fight champion. He is undefeated in Super Fight competition, Ken Shamrock. Ken, good to be here.
Yeah, it's good to be here in Detroit, Michigan. It's going to be a test for me, fighting in front of Dan's home crowd. I'm looking forward to this challenge. I'm one that loves challenges, and this is going to be my biggest one.
You said before that you didn't feel that Dan Severn makes things happen. He's not aggressive. Have you been working to counter his style?
No, I think Dan Severn's aggressive, or he can be passive, one of the two. One of the things that I like to do is to control a fight. And so whether the guy comes out slow or fast, I have my own strategy, and I stay to that.
Do you feel superior on the ground, or do you feel like it's going to be won on your feet?
I think it's going to be a chess match on the feet, and I think once it hits the ground, there'll be some scrambling. But I think this fight's going to be a good chess match, and it's just going to be able, whoever gets the other guy against on his back and gets him into a submission position, I think is going to win this fight.
Well, you said before that you were going to mentally dominate him on your feet. How do you intend to do that?
Well, not mentally dominate him, but mentally get into his head, try and confuse him, make him get out of what he wants to do. He's a Greco-Roman. He likes to throw. He likes to shoot, get in, tie people up. I'm going to try and confuse him on that and get into his head.
Thank you very much, Ken. Good luck tonight.
Thank you.
Back to you, Bruce.
All right, thank you very much, Dragon. So Cobo Arena is alive, and both of those fighters seem very composed, very calm, very professional. That is the last fight of the evening. It's the super fight, Shamrock and Severn. Right now, let's take a look at the complete matchups for UFC 9. We open with Zane Frazier against Cal Worsham, two strikers making their second UFC appearances. Then Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu stylist Rafael Carino makes his debut against another first-timer, Matt Andersen, who will need to employ his warrior training against a man 6 inches taller. Dave Beneteau broke his right hand in training with Mark Schultz. Ironically, it's the former Olympic gold medalist who will take his place against UFC 8 runner-up Gary Big Daddy Goodridge. Next, an intriguing battle between 6', 190-pound striker Mark Hall and 6'7", 390-pound sumo champion Koji Kitao. Kitao, the 1986 Yokozuna in Japan. UFC 9 kingpin Don the Predator Frye takes on highly touted Brazilian newcomer Amaury Bitetti, the reigning international jiu-jitsu champion who is following in the footsteps of Gracie and Huas. And then the super fight that everyone is eagerly awaiting, The Rock against the Beast, Shamrock versus Severn, the world super fight champion versus the ultimate winner. Well, the capacity crowd is buzzing tonight, and I have to think that a lot of the energy is building up for the main event. Shamrock versus Severn. Let's take a closer look at this tremendous matchup. It's a rematch that was meant to be. The clash of the Titans. Shamrock versus Severn. The Rock versus the Beast. Two great champions on a collision course that ends here tonight in Detroit. It's been months of fine-tuning and preparation. Shamrock defending his super fight title in Puerto Rico and fighting Pancration in Japan. Severn beating the best of the best in the ultimate. Their each and every moment has been building towards tonight's championship match. Was Shamrock lucky the first time? Has Severn learned from his mistakes? We're about to find out as Ken Shamrock meets Dan Severn for the UFC Super Fight Championship, with the winner recognized as the planet's most complete fighter. Well, as you diehard fans already know, during the action, the Ultimate Fighting Championship is live online on CompuServe. So come join Entertainment Drive in the CompuServe Convention Center. All you CompuServe members, log on and go convention. You'll get the blow-by-blow calls, and don't forget to stick around online after the show. We're going to do a live wrap-up in the conference room. Once again on CompuServe, go convention, Ultimate Fighting Championship, and join us live. For all of you participating in the CompuServe Convention Center, don't forget to vote on whether or not women should be allowed to compete in the UFC. Here are the ways to win a fight tonight: by knockout, by submission, which is tapping the mat with your hand or foot if the corner throws in a towel. If the referee stops the contest because a fighter cannot intelligently defend himself, it may be at the advice of the ringside physician. By disqualification, or if time expires, 3 judges render a decision. And the judges tonight are Robert Ferguson, an expert on rape prevention and self-defense. He is the publisher of Martial Arts Gazette, the world's leading martial arts newsletter. Steve Neklia, a columnist for a major martial arts magazine, a black belt in Tung Soo Do, a former Marine. And Big Lou Campbell, former NFL player, now a renowned fitness guru, who has worked with Thomas the Hitman Hearns, Evander Holyfield, and Chris Webber. Tremendous crowd on hand tonight, close to 10,000 at Cobo Arena. And the referee who will be in charge of tonight's fight is a key man in the octagon. He is a key man in keeping the fight going. The referee, Big John McCarthy, and the sanctioning body of the UFC is the IFC. and its commissioner is Arthur Davey, a former Golden Gloves competitor and sergeant in the Marine Corps, who saw his first mixed martial arts competition in a Bangkok nightclub between an Indian wrestler and a Thai boxer. And the referee, the man I alluded to just a couple moments ago, that's Big John McCarthy, a tactical instructor at the Los Angeles Police Academy, a jiu-jitsu competitor who has officiated 55 no-rules fights. And the doctor is Dr. Richard Istrico. He is the chief medical advisor from Howard Beach, New York, Advisory Council, WBC, team physician, USA Boxing, panel physician, New York State Athletic Commission, a medical director for the New York Golden Gloves, and he is assisted by a fine staff, including Dr. Stephen Goodman, Dr. Joel Cooperman, Dr. Robert Taiji, and Dr. Stephen Plomaridis. And there's Leon Tabbs, the veteran cut man, 30 years in the fight game, his 9th UFC. He's from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He's worked with the likes of Bone Crusher Smith and Simon Brown and Buster Drayton and Tony Thornton and Evander Holyfield and Jerry the Bull Martin. So we've laid much of the groundwork, and now we're set for our first bout of the evening. Zane Frazier against Cal Worsham. Two guys who have been there before and each looking to atone for their setback in the UFC. Tail of the tape, American Kempo and Taekwondo. Both are strikers, both the same age. Frazier with the big advantage in height and a slight advantage in weight, and both are Californians. And here comes Zane Frazier. He was a former basketball player at the University of Idaho. Played against the likes of Michael Jordan, John Stockton, John Paxson, and Detlef Schrempf. He had a tryout with the New Jersey Nets. 4-time international karate champion, 3-time national karate champion, undefeated in Japanese shoot fighting matches. He's 32 years of age. He lost to Kevin Rozier in his first UFC, but it was a grueling slugfest. One of the UFC pioneers returning tonight. American Kempo Karate, a 4th degree black belt. That's his discipline.
And looking at Zane Frazier, you see he's very tall, which gives him tremendous leverage with those limbs. So he's a great striker. Likes to believe he's fast with the footwork. He's going to move in and out. Says he has some shoot fighting experience, so his ground attack should be able to hold his own. Stamina, the big question.
So Zane Frazier getting set for tonight's UFC. He shares some thoughts with us.
Hi, I'm Zane Frazier. Some of you have seen me fight in the UFC #1. Now I'm back here in UFC #9 to take care of some serious business.
Zane Frazier's opponent tonight will be a former Marine, Cal Worsham, back for his 2nd UFC. He put on a daring display in his first competition of the Ultimate Fighting Championship, losing to Big Paul Varlitz. Although he had hit him 26 times, it just wasn't good enough. He gave away too much size. Again tonight, he's giving away size. He loves to hunt deer, wild boar, and pheasants. Joined the Marines 3 days after he graduated high school. 2nd Battalion, 5th Marines, 1st Marine Division. Stationed in Okinawa, he won the Okinawa-wide boxing championship as a heavyweight. His instructor is Master Jack Quarry. Frazier's trainer is Eric Paulson. His manager is Alexander Bear. Cal Worsham's discipline, Taekwondo, a 2nd degree black belt, black collar, as a certified instructor down the Dragon.
His fighting style will be cautious. He likes to use a cautious approach. He believes he's a powerful striker. He's also studied Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and he believes he can take a punch, and that might help him out in this style of fighting because there's a lot of punishment to be dished out here.
Cal Worsham talks to kids about staying on track or how to get back on track if they're out of it. Here's Cal on the UFC.
Hi, I'd like to say hello to all my friends and family back home, and I want you to know, polar bear, beast, or predator, doesn't matter what animal you put in, I'm taking them right out.
So it is striker against striker. Right now, for the introduction of the fighters, let's go up to our Octagon announcer from Fox Radio in Denver, the G-Man Rich Goins.
Ladies and gentlemen, SEG Sports Corporation welcomes you live to Cobo Arena in Detroit, Michigan for Ultimate Fighting Championship 9. Tonight, 10 of the toughest fighters in the world will step into the octagon to test their skills. Plus, the clash you've been waiting for. Clash of the Titans, the rematch between Super Fight champion Ken Shamrock and Dan the Beast Severn. Tonight there are no weight classes, no rounds, no timeouts. Are you ready, Detroit? Please welcome our competitors in fight number 1 out of North Hollywood, California, a veteran of UFC 1 with a 4th degree black belt in the art of American Kempo Karate. 32 years old, 6'5", 235 pounds, 3-time national, 4-time international karate champion with a 17-1 pro kickboxing competition record. Please welcome Nasty Zane Frazier. And his opponent, a black-collar certified instructor in the art of Taekwondo. He holds 2nd degree black belts and is ranked number 1 by the International Taekwondo Council. 32 years old, 5'10", 230 pounds, out of Folsom, California. A veteran of UFC 6, Cal Worsham. Let's get it on.
The octagon, 750 square feet of space, 32 feet across, 5 foot 6 inches padded walls on top of a chain link fence, 2 lock gates, 1 on each side, a tight canvas skin pad. Reputations have been built and destroyed in the octagon. Fighting systems judged and found wanting.
Are you ready? Let's get it on!
Cal Worsham against Zane Frazier.
Well, I expect these guys to be striking. I don't think either one feels as comfortable on the ground as they do standing on their feet.
Well, Cal in his interview said that he would like to go to the ground. He wants to take it to the ground, but he said there'd be a feeling out process on the feet. So I would guess that Worsham here is the guy that wants to go to the ground. With a kickboxing background, obviously Frazier wants to keep it up on his feet.
Feeling out process thus far. The only thing that has really happened is the leg kick of Cal Worsham.
Obvious there that Worsham would settle if he's in a bad position to rush and take him down.
Right, he tried to move in then. But, you know, he might be just because of the reach. He doesn't have a lot of grappling experience as far as his resume goes.
Well, the reach advantage belongs to Frazier, who also is 7 inches taller.
And Frazier's a heck of an athlete. I mean, he played basketball in college, football. I mean, he was a heck of an athlete.
And he sparred with you back in 1985.
Yes, he did, and lived to tell about it. But
and there goes Cal Worsham taking down nasty Zane Frazier. This is where Jeff said he wants to be. Worsham working hard against Frazier. And he lands an elbow.
Frazier still has the remnants of a guard. He's got Frazier has one of Worsham's legs, so he's still fundamentally in a guard position here.
Worsham landing some big left hands to Frazier's head.
He's also using some headbutts in there.
So the ex-Marine is really hammering away at Frazier. He is one tough customer.
This is not where Frazier wants to be.
Let's go.
Worsham looks in great shape compared to the first time we saw him as well. He's had time to get ready. He's also got that experience from having been in there.
This bout is 12 minutes with a 3-minute overtime. All our bouts will be that length tonight except for the super fight.
And he just passed the guard, as it's known as, and to his credit, Frazier got him back in it again. Passing the guard means you get that leg free, you can get to the side, and the legs are no longer holding your hips.
Worsham chops away at Frazier. Frazier can't do much damage, Dragon, from the ground. He can't utilize any of that kickboxing ability.
No, he also can't utilize any of his natural
athletic
height
skill
and reach. Right. I mean, he had the reach. If he could stick and move, he could score without getting hit. But right here on the inside, he's at a disadvantage.
John McCarthy telling the fighters to keep working. He has the ability to restart the fight if there is a lack of action.
Let me ask you, Dragon, wouldn't it make more sense for a grappler to sit and wait, or excuse me, a striker to sit and wait for the grappler to come at him? That way you can get the jab off.
Absolutely.
And load up on a strike, whether it's a kick, an elbow, a knee, whatever.
Right.
And
It'd be much better to sit back and try to counter someone shooting to try to take your legs out.
Inside here.
it seemed as though because Frazier went after him, Worsham was the guy that just kind of stayed away, out of reach, until the distance was close to where he went ahead and came in after him.
And Big John McCarthy steps in and stops it.
That's going to do it. Worsham looked good.
Well, very impressive.
Frazier tapped out. Frazier tapped out.
Come here, Cal, get over here.
So Frazier tapped out, and the winner, Cal Worsham. He gave away size, but gave nothing away in heart. Sweet redemption for Worsham.
Worsham played it the way he said he would. Feel him out, knock him to the ground, and he was effective once he got there.
Number one. 4 more great fights to come, plus the super fight.
8:43 the time of the victory. Cal Worsham victorious. He was mentally set, physically in tremendous shape. It took only 3:17. There was 8:43 left in the clock, so Worsham did it rather smoothly and rather quickly.
Right, well, once they got to the ground, he stayed on top, and he used little chopping hits and headbutts on the inside that Frazier had no defense for once he got down his back. I mean, Frazier's a tough guy. He gave it a valiant effort, but you know, when you're on your back like that and you don't have the skills or the strength to get a man like this off of you, he's a gutsy guy, but you know, from this position right here, he was not able to defend himself properly. Here he is trying to keep Worsham close to him.
And eventually the tap out and the victory. Oh, was he pumped up. In his second UFC from Folsom, California. Worsham, an instructor at Folsom's Taekwondo, Jack Corey's Folsom Taekwondo Academy, and reason to celebrate.
Well, I can speak from experience as far as being pumped up. When you're in there, you've got so much adrenaline and who knows what other endomorphines and chemicals flowing through your body naturally that you're high.
So Worsham's big punches, and down went Frazier. Right now, Jeff Blatnick.
Cal, congratulations. You said in the interview you'd feel him out. You wanted to take him to the ground. It's exactly what you did.
Absolutely. My trainer, Jack Corey, worked with me 11 months since UFC 6, and that's what we worked on. Didn't matter if it was Zane or who. That was the game plan for whoever stepped in the octagon.
Well, we saw you the first time. You were a little bit softer. You came out of the ring. The first thing you said to me was, hey, I'm in shape. I am for real. You look good. Where do you see yourself going in the UFC?
Well, nothing but up. I'm hoping to get a shot at the super fight. That's my goal. They gave Chemo, who was 0-1, a shot. I'm twice the athlete. I want my shot.
Well,
I'm for real.
Well, Cal, we wish you the best of luck. Great job out there.
That was for Grandpa. Red Bluff, Olivehurst, Murraysville, and Folsom. God bless you guys.
Back to you, Bruce.
All right, thank you very much, Jeff. Well, when it comes to competition, the Americans have the dream team. The Canadians, their hockey players, while the Brazilians have their fighters. Let's take a look. From the very first UFC, Brazilians have shown the world the meaning of no holds barred. This man led the way, and his name has become legend. 3-time UFC champion, Royce Gracie. Royce proved again and again that technique, ground experience, and the heart of a champion are the ultimate arsenal.
There it is. He's tapping out. That's it. Beautiful, beautiful technique by Gracie.
Yes, sir. Though another Brazilian, Eldo Diaz Xavier, the Iron Hand, would test his skills as an alternate in UFC 4, it was Gracie who reigned supreme. Watch the left hand, that's it. Gracie chokes him out. But as other fighters studied the Gracie style, chinks in the armor started to appear. And after a punishing UFC 5 super fight with Ken Shamrock, Royce bowed out of UFC competition. So another Brazilian stepped up to take his place. Marco Ruas, a mystery man, bigger than Royce and a master striker. In UFC 7, Ruas swept the competition with a familiar taste for the ground and surprising power on his feet. It looked as though a new era of Brazilian fighters had begun. Down goes Marlins!
Oh, the net going in the towel. I can't believe it.
Then after a disappointing draw against Oleg Taktarov in the Ultimate, Ruas stepped aside and Joe Moreira entered UFC 8. They called Moreira the Gorilla, and his reputation was just as imposing. Technical like Royce, powerful like Ruas. But the fight world had done their homework on Brazilian fighters, and a veteran, Paul Varlins, shut down Moreira in the first round. So tonight, the mantle is passed on yet again. Get ready, anything goes. But then, that's the Brazilian way. And Jeff Blatnick, there's a great deal of Brazilian pride when it comes to martial arts.
Oh yeah, they're very confident about their fighters. They say they're the very best in the world. But the one advantage that they have is up here when you look at martial arts, or really the cross-section of what the UFC is all about, we have different sports that make up each little slice of pie. Down in Brazil, they do this all the time. This is their sport. So they really have a leg up in terms of all-out combat when they come to the UFC.
So we will see a couple of Brazilian fighters tonight. Right now, let's take a look at the matchup, which is upcoming in our second bout of the evening. Remember, no tournament tonight, single bouts, similar to a boxing card. It is Rafael Carino against Matt Andersen. Carino, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Matt Andersen, Warrior training. A look at the tail of the tape. Andersen and Carino are both young. Carino with the size advantage, 6'8", 245. So we haven't seen a Brazilian with that kind of size thus far in the competition. Andersen hails from the same hometown as Steve Jenham, who won UFC 3, Omaha, Nebraska. Rafael Carino making his way to the octagon. Studying Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, a brown belt, judo, wrestling, also some of his background. Two-time Brazilian champion in February, became the world champion Jiu-Jitsu artist in Brazil. It's really the first time there's a crossover between the Brazilian and American Jiu-Jitsu academies. His co-trainer is John Lewis of the Las Vegas Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu School. His trainer is Andre Pederneiras. His discipline, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, we've seen a lot of it.
Well, he's a master when it comes to this form of fighting. At least this is all he has been exposed to. He wants to take people down to the ground right away. 6'8", 250 pounds. He's going to be powerful. Big question, does he have a chin? Because he's never been in a striking situation. And I question 6'8", 250 pounds. I'm a heavyweight. He doesn't look that big.
He is a college student studying to be a physical therapist. Let's meet him.
My name is Rafael Carino. It's my first time here. I'm a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fighter. I'm come to win.
So there's a look at the man they call the Earthquake. Last guy I knew had a nickname like that was Bill Earthquake Enyart, the big fullback from Ohio State back in the 60s.
I think some pro wrestlers will say, hey, we had one over here too.
All right, here comes Matt Andersen, whose discipline is entitled Warrior Training. Andersen 1-0 in bare knuckle matches. He wrestled in high school. He's from Omaha, Nebraska. affiliated with Robert Bussey's Warriors International School, which produced Scott Morris in UFC 2 and Steve Jenham, the champ in UFC 3. He is a painter by trade. He is trained by Dave Jobian, and he runs a martial arts school, the Andersen Warrior Training Branch. Does he have enough of real live experience is the question.
You watch your fighter, don't do any of that.
Warrior
Matt
training.
considers himself a very well-rounded fighter. He's going to try to avoid the clinch. He knows he's vulnerable on his back from lack of experience, and he also strikes on the ground, which is the new trend in the UFC.
A closer look now at young Matt Andersen, 24 years of age.
My name's Matt Andersen. I train at the Jobin Warrior Training Branch in Omaha, Nebraska, and I'm here to represent Warrior Training.
So it is Matt Andersen against Rafael Carino. For the introduction of the fighters, let's go to the G-Man, Rich Goins, a Detroit native.
Ladies and gentlemen, fight number 2 of UFC 9. Please welcome the competitors. First of all, in this corner, he holds a brown belt in the art of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu with a record of 1-0 in professional competition, 23 years old, 6'8", 245 pounds, the state and 2-time Brazilian, Pan American, and World Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu champion from Rio de Janeiro. They call him the Earthquake, Rafael Carino. And his opponent, 24 years old, a second-degree black belt in the art of warrior training, 1-0 in bare-knuckle matches, 6'2", from Omaha, Nebraska. Please give a Midwestern welcome to Matt Andersen.
This one looks one-sided on paper in Carino's favor, but you never know.
The one thing I have to say is Andersen said he doesn't want to be in the guard. He wants to be behind the person. That sounds like a typical wrestling statement. After you take somebody down, you're behind them. If he doesn't want to be in the guard, he's got a whole lot of problem here, because I have a feeling Carino is just going to try to pull him right into the guard.
He's a master at it. There's no doubt. If he's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu stylist, he knows it inside and out.
Here we go, Andersen against the much bigger Carino, both in their first UFCs.
It's good that these guys are both first-timers. Carino had some boxing experience as well.
And we're told that Carino will be more aggressive than many Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fighters. And quickly the takedown by Carino.
And Andersen isn't even in the guard position here. Carino will start to move up the body. And here he is. Now he's struggling to get into it. And now he's in the guard. Okay, the classic matchup here on the ground.
So Andersen in the guard.
Andersen has the guard on Carino. Carino now will try to work. And you can see how calm Carino is. There's no rush here. Quite often people think, oh gosh, you got him on the ground, rush, rush, rush. In this in a contest like this, you have to take your time, be patient, do not make a mistake, because that's what the guard is about. It's about waiting for the top man to get too aggressive, get a little bit extended, make that mistake, and he's going to just cinch it on you.
He was hiding, he said, in Brazil. Now he wants to show the world who he is.
The best thing Andersen can do is what he's doing right now, keeping him close to him and not giving him any reach to do that.
And now a strike by Carino.
Work. Open head.
Carino trying to land a big bomb, but just missed. And with that frame behind it, if he connects, it could be trouble.
I'm still waiting for the day when the person throws the strike and hits the octagon at a bad angle, because the bottom man moves out of the way. Very difficult when your hips are being thrown all over the place to really aim accurately.
Right, it's tough to punch down. Your power comes from the floor. And punching down is not a natural thing for a fighter.
Right hand landed.
Those are the most effective. Mainly just arm throws, elbows, forearms, that kind of thing from short range. Nothing where you can wind up, because when you wind up, your opponent feels it coming and will adjust.
Carino grabbed onto Andersen's pants to try to use it as some leverage.
What he's doing there is just like Gracie grabbed the sleeve of his gi, he's grabbing his own pant leg to try to keep Carino down close to him where he doesn't have the distance to be able to throw strikes.
Andersen very much fighting a defensive battle.
One of the things Carino is not doing that Gracie does is Gracie will take those knuckles and drive them into the ribs to loosen up the guy down on the bottom.
Andersen looking over at his corner, getting advice. He's showing a lot of patience and maturity.
Well, I think there's a little bit also of the inexperience of Carino here at the UFC, which will help Andersen. Andersen was actually talking with his coach, asking
trying
advice.
to employ techniques, which is very unusual. Look at that, looking back at his corner.
There's an elevator. Oh, he almost got it. Nice job by Andersen, but a great job by Carino to keep him down.
Andersen, his discipline is called warrior training, designed to beat all martial arts, a realistic system with a collar crunch from wrestling being employed. Everything practical, scissor chokes, kicks to the legs and body, a lot of finishing techniques. Holds the credo of the ninja, use anything you can to win, but right now, he'd like to find a way to win. Crowd getting restless, but there's no reason for Carino to rush.
Correct, but let's see if Big John McCarthy, with the rule of neither athlete being able to really improve position and be offensive and aggressive, he might bring him to the feet. But Carino's being active.
There's some strikes in there, and he looks like he might be applying some pressure there with his shoulder a little bit. It's not really a choke, but
he's trying to pass the guard, but to his credit, Andersen staying. Oh, he's in the mount now. He's in trouble.
This is where Carino can hammer him. Carino's got his legs outside of Andersen. He's in the mount, and that's where those big right hands can be explosive.
Open the head. Open the head. Let's go.
This is like that double grapevine in wrestling, being in this mounted position. So Carino's up much higher. His center of gravity is up on Andersen's chest, keeping that upper body down, and all he's trying to do is get a quick elevation from his upper body and then rain those strikes down before he's pulled back down by Andersen.
Well, those are the body strikes that Gracie uses to loosen up the grip of his opponent.
Is it worth it here, Jeff, for Andersen to try another elevator, make one big thrust?
Well, again, this is something, unless you feel you're in trouble, you don't want to go desperation. But this is why you don't want to be where Andersen is. He's in a very vulnerable position.
Andersen covering up well, trying again to flip Carino, but unable to do so.
He won't get this guy off. He's too big, too long, and too experienced at this position.
7 minutes left. It's been a gutsy performance by Andersen thus far.
I don't see Carino getting out of this. He's got his legs locked in behind him. He knows how to keep and maintain his position.
That was a tough shot right there.
Andersen ate some leather there. Without it being leather, it was just the hand.
Small cut on the forehead of Andersen now.
Yeah, that cut is getting bigger by the moment. And that's it. John McCarthy has seen enough. And Carino wins it. Great courage by Andersen, but Carino too big and was able to utilize the mount position very successfully.
Well, he had the strikes down when he got into that mounted position. He said he wanted to go to the ground. He was able to do it, and he showed his experience.
There was no way Andersen was going to get him off. I mean, he did some valiant efforts there, but once he got right up on him in that guard position, he couldn't get him off.
So another victory for Brazil. Rafael Carino, who is only 23, he can learn an awful lot.
Well, Andersen's fairly young, too. Maybe with a little more schooling there, we might see him again at the UFC.
Respectable showing by Andersen. I agree, Don. He was really out physical, and he hung in there. Here's a look at some of the action, gentlemen.
Well, it seemed that Andersen really didn't know what to do on his feet here, and Carino just seized the moment, came right in on him, took him down, and here he's already past the guard, but eventually Andersen would get in it, but eventually you get in that mounted position. It's like riding a bareback horse. You just maintain balance, elevate, and then immediately bring blows down to your opponent. That's just a very tiny little cut.
You notice Carino is using some open hand strikes because the fighters are learning that if they just keep punching the skull, they're breaking their hands. They're starting to use the open hand more and more.
Certainly if a person's pinned down against the ground too, an open hand is probably the better shot because you're not going to have that recoil from the ground holding his head.
Right, and you're really only going to open up a cut. You can do it just as easily with the open palm.
He says he wants Paul Varlands next because Varlands took on Moreira and Ruas, two Brazilians who were smaller than Carino, though Ruas has pretty decent size. He says he wants Paul to pick on someone his own size, so maybe we'll see a Carino Varlands fight in the future. There's the camp, the interpreter manager, Marco Albuquerque, trainer Andre Pederneiras, and co-trainer John Lewis. Very, very big crowd on hand to support the local Detroit fighters and to offer their respects to the other fighters who come from different parts of the country and world and who employ various disciplines.
Well, without a doubt, Rafael Carino, great christening into the UFC. But if he wants to find out what 6'8", 250 pounds is, Paul Varlands going to present that to him.
Well, you see those Brazilian flags, Jeff, flying in the World Cup, and now you see it in the UFC. All right, we continue to move on in this fight card format here at Cobo Arena in Detroit, Michigan, the city which gave birth to Motown music. And the signs continue to be waved enthusiastically. This building, which opened in 1959, home of the Detroit Rockers of the Indoor Soccer League, University of Detroit Titans. Largest crowd ever to see a UFC fight, over 10,000.
I'm reading a sign that says, "Forget about Stanley," referring to the cup.
Oh, what a night.
And they want Gracie.
What a night it was last night in Detroit as the Red Wings won in double OT with Steve Yzerman, the captain, whipping a slap shot from outside the blue line and giving the Wings a 7th game double OT victory over Mike Keenan's Blues and propelling them to the semifinals of the Stanley Cup. Here's our matchup number 3, and it's been a big change. Mark Schultz comes in to take on Gary Big Daddy Goodridge. Schultz agreed to fight today. He was working with Dave Beneteau. Beneteau broke his right hand fighting Schultz. Beneteau unable to participate. Schultz said, "I'm going to do it." Tail of the tape, 33-30. Goodridge has the height and weight advantage. Schultz, I think, more for pride took this bout than anything else.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, Bruce, Jeff, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't Schultz the one that broke Beneteau's hand?
Well, the word is from Dave Beneteau that Dave just simply posted his hand on the ground, and as he did, whether sweat or whatever was on the mat, his hand rolled as he placed it, and that's when the metacarpal broke.
Here comes the two-time Olympian, the 1984 gold medal in freestyle wrestling in Los Angeles, 3-time world champion, the brother of David Schultz, the Olympic and world champion who was gunned down on Fox Catcher Farm in Newton Square, Pennsylvania on January 26th. He comes from a family rich in wrestling tradition, a great competitor.
He's also a fantastic grappler. World champion, Olympic champion, NCAA champion. He's done it all. He has jiu-jitsu experience, having worked with Rickson Gracie and, of course, Pedro Sauer. The big question is, can he take a strike? If he goes under here, you're probably going down to the ground.
Let's meet Mark Schultz from Palo Alto, California.
I'm going to go into the octagon and do the best that I can with the knowledge that I have.
Short and sweet. Rickson Gracie said he's one of the best grapplers in the world.
Oh, there's no doubt. He's a world champion and an Olympic champion. The big question is, wrestling is just a single sport, single discipline. What does he know beyond it? And obviously, having worked with Rickson Gracie, and particularly lately with Pedro Sauer, I am sure he is very proficient at submissions. The big question, the chin. Does he have the ability to defend against strikes, and can he take a few strikes to get a man down to the ground?
And his opponent is one heck of a striker. Ferocious. Gary Big Daddy Goodridge, runner-up in UFC 8, losing only to Don the Predator Frye. From Bob Houston's Martial Arts Academy and the Fong Tran Martial Arts School, handled by Mike Mobs and John Knapp. Norm Bell is boxing coach. Gary Goodridge, he was called Goody as a kid, but he changed it 4 years ago to Big Daddy. One of the great arm wrestlers in the world, recently beat 1,000 men in a row in 2 hours in Japan. It took him 1 hour and 47 minutes. 15 years as an arm wrestler. His discipline is Kuk Sul Wan, but lately it's also Martial Arts Cross Training Association.
Well, obviously with that arm wrestling record, he's got a very strong upper body, but he knows he's limited with his ground skills. He's got boxing experience, he's a knockout puncher, so he will strike on the ground. He did last UFC, and he'll do it this time.
A closer look at the Big Daddy Gary Goodridge.
Hi, remember me? Big Daddy Goodridge, UFC 8 runner-up. You know the worst thing about coming second place is you're the first one in line to losers? I'll tell you one thing, I'm not no loser.
He is a delightful gentleman outside of the octagon. A welder by trade, works just outside of Barrie, Ontario. He grew up in St. James, Trinidad. Delightful Don outside the octagon.
Absolutely. You know what? I think he's got a career as an actor with that performance he just gave, because he appears to be a brute, but he is one of the nicest, smoothest talking guys I've met.
Very articulate, very articulate.
Cameo roles in films with Lorenzo Lamas and Sylvester Stallone. Here's the G-Man, Rich Goins.
Fight number 3 on our 6th bout card features a matchup between a freestyle wrestler fighting out of Linden, Utah. 5'10", 203 pounds. He's a 2-time NCAA, 3-time world champion, and 84 Olympic gold medalist. Please welcome Mark Schultz. And returning to the octagon tonight, his opponent, a veteran and runner-up in UFC 8. A 4th degree black belt in the Korean art of Kuk Sul Wan, and the 93 Canadian amateur super heavyweight boxing champion, 6'3", 240 pounds, Big Daddy from Barrie, Ontario, Canada, Gary Goodridge.
And oh, does he have a following. Barrie, Ontario is 4 hours and 35 minutes from here. But I think he built his reputation on pay-per-view. Now one of our lovely octagon side girls.
Well, speaking of the fighting here, Bruce, when I take a look at this, I see a classic matchup against a grappler versus striker.
Right. Schultz wants to be on the ground, and Goodridge wants to be on his feet. The question is, Don the Dragon, can Schultz get Goodridge to the ground?
Well, even if he does, we've seen in the past that Goodridge has the ability to use those elbows inside on the ground. So that may not be the only thing he needs to do in this bout.
Goodridge has been preparing for a long time, but he was expecting Beneteau. Schultz agreed to fight this morning. How that will play to this battle.
Well, it shouldn't matter until the later, if it goes later in the bout, then conditioning will become a factor. But in these early minutes, it's purely skill. Looks like Goodridge is content to try to box it out here. He hasn't thrown anything, but he's in a position to throw a good punch.
He keeps his hands up high defensively as a boxer would. Schultz goes for it.
Schultz has it.
Drops him. What a move by Schultz.
I can't tell how far sunk in Goodrich's left arm is around Schultz's neck. I don't know if that's a guillotine or not. He doesn't have his hands locked. His right arm's out there, so it's a one-arm hold. It's not a choke.
All right, Jeff, he knows this position. He's been there how often before? He's never punched from here in a regular competition, though.
I'm sure what he'll do here is wait to feel out Goodridge a little bit. Goodridge has to spend a lot of energy to hang on to Schultz to keep him from coming up. He'll bide his time. I'm sure Schultz will be very, very focused here.
And the thing, Dragon, that Schultz has to be careful of is he doesn't want to allow that striker, as you see his toes hanging onto the gate there, you don't want to allow that striker to get loose. So he wants to be, I would think, almost a little bit conservative before he tries anything flashy like a choke.
Right, he's better take his time because Goodridge is a very strong, powerful man, and he will definitely use hand and elbow strikes on the ground.
Well, Goodridge has him two ways. He's locked on with his left arm to his own gi, and with his right arm around Schultz's body, grabbing his own pants of his leg, or his own bottom of his gi there to keep Schultz from being able to raise up. Mark tried to go ahead and pull his head out, but because he's grabbing his own gi, makes it a fairly tight hold, though it's not a choke. It's just keeping Schultz's head down.
Well, what about the positioning here, Jeff? Who do you like? Where would you rather be?
Oh, I'd rather be on top, of course. I don't know anything about the guard. Part of Serino's entourage was a 17-year-old, 160-pound athlete who they want to bring to the UFC eventually. And I sparred with him nearly 40 minutes doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And he was so proficient at it, very slick, able to take on a guy, you know, literally 70, 80 pounds bigger than him and do quite well.
So it is Schultz on top, Goodridge on the bottom, and now Schultz just chopping away at the body a little bit, trying to loosen up Gary Goodridge. An explosive move by Schultz, racing across the octagon, dropping Goodridge, and that's how they got to this position.
Oh, that's one thing that the fence came into play in favor of Schultz, is that when he tried to double, he really didn't have it sunk deep, but when Goodridge backed into the fence, he was able to get a good hold, pick him up, and that was a wonderful slam.
Keep in mind, if we do go 12 minutes, we do not have a finish. There will be a 3-minute overtime, which means they start on their feet again, so Goodridge would get another shot at him from a standing position.
And he's taking everything Schultz has in terms of strikes, but Schultz can't really put anything into those because of the proximity of the bodies. They're too close.
Still a lot of time in regulation.
Goodridge has his leg. He's got one leg locked in the scissors back there. So he's got him held pretty good as far as...
Would you go to elbow here instead of fist right into the side of the ribs there?
I don't think he's got the room. I think Goodridge is holding him so tight that all he can do is those little short little rabbit punches. And I don't think they're going to have enough to really break Goodridge down. Well, this may be a case where John may have to restart these guys.
Well, he got his attention there. He took a couple shots to the head, and Goodridge brought his arms down. Schultz needs to be careful. Looks like Goodridge is trying to elevate him here, going to the right. Towards Goodridge's left on Schultz's right arm.
Schultz locks that right arm around Goodridge's head and then punches with the left hand.
And he's starting to pass the guard a little bit there. He seems to be more on his knees now.
And somebody is bleeding.
And it's Goodridge. It's the right ear of Goodridge in my view from here.
Keep working. Let's go, Here we go.
And now the wrestler's off to the side. He's past the guard. Let's see what Schultz will do here.
Good quickness there by Schultz. Schultz working on Gary Goodridge.
The thing about Goodridge is he's got so much natural strength that he's able to just muscle his way out of some of this stuff.
Oh, he's tremendously powerful. He bench pressed Jerry Bolander in his last outing right off of him in the mounted position.
And that's an unusual wrestling move, the bench press.
As an arm wrestler as a kid, he started all over the kitchen table. 4 sisters, 2 older, 2 younger. Couldn't beat the eldest one. Finally beat the eldest, but then took on his father, 6'6", 385. And started out wrestling with one finger against the hand, and then all of a sudden he got better and better and beat his dad.
There's a great shot of Goodridge hanging onto his pants leg to keep Schultz from being able to get distance to bring blows down. That's the advantage of wearing a gi, and then they break him off.
So there's still plenty of time, 6 minutes, and it's a restart.
How much do you think that might have zapped from Goodridge fighting that hard on the ground?
Well, now he's got another chance to start from his feet. And it's Dave Beneteau in the corner of Schultz. It might have been Schultz in the corner of Beneteau.
This is where Goodridge needs to stay, right here. He needs to stay and just wait and let the grappler come to him. Try to bait him. There it is.
Schultz is just too good there.
He's too quick. He's too quick.
Too quick as a grappler. He'll take him down every time, it seems.
So Schultz right back where he wants to be. But it's Goodridge now in the guard.
Well, Goodridge is so powerful, he can probably be able to maintain guard just by locking on and just holding on.
And just holding on to his gi.
You know, it's a great tactic in a fight. It's what you want to do. But in terms of winning here at the UFC, it's going to spell problems for him because Schultz is racking up points.
So Dragon, how much does that raw power of Goodridge mean in a battle like this where technique is so important?
Well, he's able to nullify his opponent as far as getting taken right out or choked out or submitted. I don't see that happening, but he can't get out of this position. He doesn't have the technical wherewithal to get out of this position. But it does enable him to survive.
So defensively, it's a plus.
Right.
But not offensively.
No, he can't do anything unless he uses the bench press.
Schultz with some short chopping blows. Jeff, he uses his hands very well around Goodridge's face.
Well, he's just, you know, he might be covering the mouth to make him breathe through his nose, which would deprive him a little bit of air. It's a smart tactic. I once, you know, I've said that before. Just cover his whole face with your hand, and it's going to cut the air.
I think that could come close to being the fish hook, and I think they said to keep the fingers away from the mouth because of the fish hooking.
Here we go.
Which is
and the danger of, yes, either a fish hook or an eye gouge.
He just spit his mouthpiece out. That's a sign of sucking air.
Yes, it is. It's a sign of fatigue, and there's some good shots landed by Mark Schultz.
That's it. Stop it. Get it off. Get it off. Get it off. You're all right, baby.
That's it.
He's cut. He's cut.
I believe either that or he'll take him over to the doctor for a look. All right, John McCarthy say, no, we're going to have the doctor take a look at it before we stop this thing.
If he's okay, what this means is Goodridge got the break. He's going to be put back up on his feet, which seems to be the only position that he's capable of launching offense from.
And there is the ironic look of Dave Bitetti outside the octagon looking in. And Dr. Richard Istergo and Leon Tabbs now taking a good look at Gary Goodridge while Bitetti mounts some more strategy. Goodrich's cut is near the right eye. And it's pretty nasty, says Dr. Richard Istergo. I don't think he's going to allow him to continue.
Put the mouthpiece in. Put the mouthpiece in.
He said he's not that bad. They're going to let him go.
Okay. Yeah, you know, that's actually not that bad. If you look at it, it's off to the side of the eye, not over the eye, where the bleeding will go down into the eye. So I agree. I think that a cut like that, they can allow it. Now, we've seen this happen twice where the guy on the bottom, out of bleeding, gets to be restarted, which is a heck of a break.
Yes, it is. And now let's see if there's desperation in Goodridge. Will he come out and just flurry like crazy thinking he is in trouble? This is where patience and experience really pays off, and Goodridge hasn't been in this position in the UFC.
I don't think he's got the patience. You know what? I think you hit the nail on the head. He could be taken down every time.
Schultz is very relaxed for a first-timer. Just keeps his hands up. Ooh, he took a shot at it.
Wow, he went right to the area where the bleeding was, and he landed.
I think Schultz is going to duke it out a little bit. He looks like he even wants to throw a kick.
I think he wants him to grab the leg, and then he's going to come back with the right hand.
There he goes. There he goes.
Look at the power.
Look at Schultz's
Mark
power.
Schultz.
What a show he's putting on when they're in the standing position.
Just tremendous power.
What a body slam.
He is very good once he gets underneath you of lifting.
And he is strong. He's only 203 pounds, and he lifted 240 like it was 140.
Technique is everything. It's not a matter of strength in the arms. It's body position and technique.
We've been talking so much about Goodridge's strength, we kind of forgot about Schultz.
2 minutes and 45 seconds in regulation.
Let's go.
This is a repeat of what's happened every time they've gotten on the ground. The same, right down to the leg lock.
Oh, Schultz now 2 punches in a row.
And oftentimes you think a restart benefits the man on the bottom, but each time it has benefited the man on the top, Schultz.
Well, if Goodridge can absorb that kind of impact 3 times in a row and say it's part of his strategy, very well, then he's a very tough individual. But Schultz has that power, but behind that power is that awesome technique. He was a gymnastic champion in high school, switched over to wrestling, became a state champion in wrestling, and then went on to become world and Olympic champion.
Heck of an athlete.
Coming up on 2 minutes in regulation.
And Don, looking at a scorecard, what do you think right now?
Well, it's Schultz all the way. Just beyond shadow of a doubt, he's way ahead on the judges' scorecards unless they're looking at a different fight.
You could see Schultz trying to pull his left leg out of that scissor hold by Goodridge. Once he does that, he'd be in what they call, and he better be careful because Goodridge has got his toe there. He could get an ankle lock and
he could actually put some pressure on that.
But I tell you, Schultz is grabbing onto his gi as well.
Oh. Schultz maintains his position. Bringing it overtime would come up next. Mark Schultz, late fill-in, as late as today for Dave Beneteau, broke his right hand.
While training with Mark Schultz. So it seems almost ironic that Schultz would go ahead and take his place. First timer out of the blue, no training in preparation for a fight. And certainly to come in the day of a fight and have to put that mental pressure on yourself all at once.
Under a minute to go in regulation. What a chin Goodridge has, by the way.
Schultz away here. This is all part of the Brazilian attitude towards being on top in that mounted position, is just to bide your time, wait for that bottom person to make a mistake. And there's a mistake.
Look out, he's in the mount.
Open hands.
He's trying to end it. Schultz is trying to end it.
Open hands.
And I think John McCarthy, with respect for Goodridge's chin and strength, didn't stop the fight.
I'll tell you what, I didn't see a good solid hit land. Tell you the truth, he did not throw anything.
Oh, that one was there.
No, they're glancing blows. They're glancing off those arms and forearms and elbows.
Goodridge hanging tough. He's got 5 seconds to get it through regulation. And then it's overtime.
He's got his arm.
Yeah, he's starting to look for the arm. He's looking for the arm.
I wonder if Schultz knows there's an overtime.
There's got to be an overtime.
There is an overtime. I think Schultz knows it because he's looking back at his opponent. For a moment there, he was almost celebrating.
Well, he should be celebrating. He's won this fight unless he slips on a banana peel in the next 2 minutes.
Who is in the octagon here? Who is in the octagon? There's somebody in the octagon. He got rid of him as a photographer. He must have thought the fight was over. Doctors checking out Goodridge, putting the salve on.
3-minute overtime. Anyone who didn't know knows now, including that photographer who made his way inside the octagon. Schultz and Goodridge. Wow, what a first 12 minutes. That's Dave Beneteau's right hand, which is broken, which is over the top of the octagon. Goodridge is being looked at.
It's over.
It's over. John McCarthy says it's over. There will be no OT. I heard him loud and clear. There will be no overtime. The referee stops the fight. Schultz has won.
Congratulations.
That's going to do it. Mark Schultz in his first UFC.
The doctors have stopped the fight. The winner
performs admirably, showing great technique, great power, and for someone with no experience, great poise.
What a victory by Schultz.
Competitor.
Oh, he's got tremendous heart and soul. He's got a little bit of that Mark Messier look about him. The leadership, the competitive nature, and the will to win.
And how much time did he have to train for this event?
Well, a half a day.
Half a day?
Well, I mean, he's always in training when you're working with somebody else, but you never think about your opponent. How tough is that, Don? You know the difficulty about picking up a guy late. You've done it before.
I've done it, but I've never done it the day of the bout. I'll have to admit, I've always had a certain length of time, at least 2 weeks before a bout.
Here's Jeff Blatnick. Jeff, take it away.
Mark, you took the fight today, no preparation. How can you come in here and perform that well?
Well, it's not no preparation, but just very little. I've had a lot of training from Pedro Sauer, and I didn't really know how it was going to turn out, but I just did my best with what I knew, and thank God it came out okay.
Well, there's a real irony here in that David Beneteau was supposed to fight, and in training with you broke his hand, and the doctors here would not let him fight, and then you take his place. Was that a motivation for you?
I think maybe it was more like a predestination than a motivation. My motivation is my brother Dave, and my God, my family. That's my motivation.
Well, Mark, you performed very well. Can we plan on seeing you again in the future?
I'll have to think about it. See what kind of money they can come up with.
Well, Mark, you performed very well. Congratulations.
Thanks very much. I say congratulations to my opponent also.
Very classy act, Mark Schultz. And we're going to bring in Big Daddy here. Well, Big Daddy, you gave it a good go, but you were up against a master grappler. Tell me, what did it feel like to go up against him?
Well, he was tough. I went back. I had my superior stamina. I worked on that. Superior mind, superior attitude. But once again, I forgot one other thing, important thing that I didn't do. I left the weights alone. That won't happen again. It's okay. Big Daddy's still here.
Well, let me ask you, did any of those slams when he picked you up and brought you down to the octagon floor bother you? Did they hurt you?
No, absolutely not. I don't think I look that pretty right now, but they actually didn't hurt. What will hurt is maybe tomorrow morning.
Can we plan on seeing Big Daddy again?
Oh, definitely. I have a career here. The one good thing about being a champion is at first I think you got to learn how to lose and lose gracefully. The chap was a very tough individual, and I thought I fought a good fight as well as I could against him. Back to the drawing board. We'll come back. No big deal.
Big Daddy Goodridge, class act. We wish you the best of luck.
Thank you very much.
Back to you, Bruce.
What about it was, and Mark Schultz paying tribute to his brother David, who was gunned down in January. Wonderful family, great tradition in Olympic wrestling, and Schultz enters a new venue, a new sphere, the UFC, and performs more than admirably, performs miraculously in a victory over Gary Big Daddy Goodridge, who is strong, tough, and rugged. Here's a look at some of the action, and this was just unbelievable each time, guys. It
was the same thing. It was just a repeat of history. Schultz would take him down. There he goes, the slam, get on top and stay on top. And more often than not, Gary was able to hook that one leg, but he just couldn't hold it.
Well, Schultz is using a double, and for all you wrestling, you see how he went to his knees, but it was with a straight back underneath his opponent, so he would unbalance him, bring him to the ground. The others, he never touched his knee, just drove him to the fence and then picked him up.
That was just pure brute strength to lift him up like that.
And that was almost a feint. He's lifting the leg like it's a kick, but as he brings it down, he uses that forward momentum to start his attack. Really coy. Great first timer.
Absolutely.
Wow.
He also mentioned his brother.
Yeah, I just mentioned that, Jeff, on your way back.
And I tip my hat to David. And to Mark.
Well, the UFC, that was what you call a show stealer. You don't expect it necessarily, but you get it. It's like an undercard bout that turns out to be a super one. Well, if you think you're seeing action here tonight, wait until July 12th. That's when Jeff and I will be bringing you UFC 10 live on Friday, July 12th from Providence, Rhode Island, the Providence Civic Center. Tickets will go fast for this one, so get yours early. Call 1-401-331-2211. Reserve your place to witness martial arts history in the making. You'll be seeing the winner of tonight's super fight bout, plus a new card of Fight Great. So make sure and call now. 1-401-331-2211. UFC 10.
Hard to believe they're up to 10 already, Bruce.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Super fight still to come later tonight. Shamrock and Severn. Need I say more? Shamrock in UFC 6 super fight. 1 and 2+ minutes over Severn. Severn wants revenge. Shamrock wants to hold the belt. Well, did you ever look at some of the fighters in the UFC and wonder how they learn those techniques, the throws, the locks, the finishes? Well, here's how to find out. Hey, UFC fans, whether you're a martial arts expert or just someone who wants to learn the secrets of no-holds-barred fighting for the greats of the UFC, we've created the Secrets of the Octagon instructional video series just for you. It's a 5-volume set featuring your favorite UFC fighters sharing their secrets for success. Shamrock, Severn, Taktarov, and Hackney teach you strikes, takedowns, and shoots, submissions, escapes, and finally training and conditioning. All this for the price of $59.95 each, or save $100 by ordering the complete set of 5 for only $199.95. And when you order the entire series, you'll receive absolutely free an official UFC hat, t-shirt, and poster program. Plus, if you're not completely satisfied, return the tapes undamaged within 30 days and keep the bonuses. It's the ultimate guarantee on the Ultimate Martial Arts video series. To order the Secrets of the Octagon, call 1-800-237-8400, extension 630. Have your Visa or MasterCard ready. Call now. Well, the folks who bring you the Ultimate Fighting Championship, SEG Sports Corp, are bringing you the latest installment of the hottest martial arts import from Japan, Pancrase. It's how Ken Shamrock made his bones. So all you hardcore fight fans, mark your calendars for the Brawl in Budokan, Friday, June 14th. Pancrase, lightning fast kicks, over-the-top takedowns, devastating submission holds. Check it out, direct from Tokyo, Japan, only on pay-per-view. So call your local cable operator for details. And speaking of Japan and Japanese fighters, let's take a look at our next matchup tonight in UFC 9. It is Mark Hall against Koji Kitao, the grand champion in sumo in 1986. Here's a look at the tail of the tape. Mark Hall, a striker, Muye Do, 2 years older, but 7 inches smaller, and he's giving away over 200 pounds. But Mark Hall has the heart of a champion. 5-0 in amateur kickboxing, 2-1 in the UFC. 4th degree black belt in Muye Do, managed by Jerry Dupuy. Teaches at the 6,000 square foot martial arts school, the Muye Do and Street Combat Applications Training Center in Murrieta, California. Matt Shute is in his corner. His discipline, Muye Do.
Very fast on his feet. He wants to use movement as a big advantage against Kitao because of his size. He has Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu experience, and he certainly wants to avoid getting on the bottom or the clinch where Kitao can use his power and size and weight.
Mark Hall from Murrieta, California, born in Detroit.
Hi, my name is Mark Hall. I'm here to test my ultimate fighting abilities in UFC 9.
So Mark Hall does a little bit of a dance through the octagon, getting ready to go. His 3rd UFC. He is giving away a lot of weight to an unknown guy to us, Koji Kitao. 390 pounds. Our first sumo wrestler with tremendous credentials. His name was Furugaharu. 1986, he was the grand champion of sumo, the Yokozuna. They've only had 65 in Japan in over 400 years. He was number 60, but he did something very un-sumo-like. He left the competition to pursue other fight interests. The first Yokozuna ever to do so.
Well, obviously, Kitao is a grappler. He believes in power over technique. He has studied striking, but of course, because of his size, his mobility is a question. And because of his size, again, he's like a turtle. If he gets on his back, he's vulnerable when mounted.
Mark Hall against Koji Kitao. Let's go to the G-Man, Rich Goins, for the formal introductions.
Ladies and gentlemen, our 4th fight of the evening. Please welcome a 4th degree black belt in the art of Muay Do, a black belt in Taekwondo, and a black belt in American Karate, with an amateur boxing record of 5-0, 3 by knockout, 34 years old, 6 foot, 189 pounds, fighting out of Murrieta, California, Mark Hall. And his opponent fighting for the first time in the United States, an all-around fighter and former Yokozuna, the grand champion of sumo, 33 years old, 6'7", 390 pounds, from the city of Sioux, in the land of the rising sun. Please give a warm American welcome to Koji Kitao. Kitao.
Well, we're not sure what to expect in this one.
Well, I talked to Mark Hall in the interview, and he wants to chop him down using legs kicks. He says his next fight is always the most important one, meaning this one. He didn't want to talk about what he wants to do later, but he did say he wants to eventually fight in Japan, and it's ironic he's going against a Japanese fighter. But to explain sumo, Yokozuna is a title given to you. It is like becoming an all-pro, or what we call superstar status.
It's like the world champion in the heavyweight division in boxing.
Is this the smallest UFC fighter at this event fighting the biggest? 190 versus 350? I think it is.
Well, Bitetti is 185. We'll see him later. But this is a classic matchup of David versus Goliath. Where were they in Puerto Rico?
Whoa. Well, I like what Hall's doing here. He'd like to be against the fence because then he won't get bowled over. And when he can, create some room and get away.
Kitao throwing a punch.
We've seen guys smash him up against the fence too, though.
This is not where Hall wants to be.
Oh. Kitao takes down Mark Hall. And that is all, I believe. John McCarthy jumped in there quickly.
Get up!
Something must have happened to Kitao.
What happened to him?
He's bleeding. It's his nose.
Oh my!
He might have done something to his nose.
What happened?
I can't see exactly what it is.
He could have broken his nose.
It could have been a strike of some kind.
I don't believe he wants to continue. I don't know. The blood is on Mark Hall, but it's from the nose of Kitao.
At least I think it's the nose. We haven't seen a good shot of the face. Yeah, it's the nose.
It is.
He's shaking his head either no, don't stop the fight, or no, I'm not sure. If he says he doesn't want to continue, he's out of there.
It looks broken.
Dr. Steve Goodman says it's broken. And this fight is over. Mark Hall wins.
Unbelievable.
That broken nose, Kitao is out. 47 seconds. The David wins over the Goliath. And there's the respect and honor
from the United States of America, Mark Hall.
Hall looked like he could have been in big trouble if he went down. He was in really big trouble. I don't know what happened to Kitao's nose. Either Mark struck him with something, an elbow, a fist. We'll have to check that out really close on the replay.
Mark Hall came from the brink of disaster to the brink of success in a flash.
That shows you how fast the tide can turn here at the UFC. I mean, he looked like for sure he was in the worst position of all against this fighter, on his back, underneath all that weight.
I don't think he was getting up. I really don't, but they stopped it before that. As you look at Ken Shamrock getting set for his bout in the
here's the
locker
replay.
room.
There's going to be a slam right here. He almost got his leg under him. Now, something happens right.
McCarthy jumped right in there. He saw it immediately. Oh, there's no doubt about it. Let's go to Jeff Blatnick. Jeffrey?
Well, I tell you what, let me ask you, did you have a strike to cause that, or was that an impact on the way down?
That was my fist, my right hand. It was a right hand punch. I caught him with it. And I want to say hello to my 3 kids, Dylan, Sage, and Amy. And I want to say something to my girlfriend, Laura. Will you marry me?
Hey, that's a first.
I'm not sure this is the exact place for a proposal, but let me ask you, you wouldn't talk or elaborate what's next. Now that this fight is over, what is next?
I want another shot at a tournament, UFC. I want a shot to come back at number 10. And I want to tell the kids something, too. Remember, the fighting has many legal consequences, medically, physically, and legally. If you're going to fight, do it in a ring.
Well, congratulations. You performed very well.
Thank you very much.
Back to you, Bruce.
Mark Hall, an outstanding young man. He does a lot of work in the community, cares a lot about the kids. He was talking about his 3 children. Dylan being the oldest, who's a second-degree black belt in Muay Do. He's only 10 years of age. So Mark Hall landed a right hand and got in there. Koji Kitao broke his nose, and Hall wins. It looked like he was headed for a loss, but in dramatic fashion, anything goes in the UFC. And I've never heard someone in UFC history propose on the air.
No, he kept asking him what's he going to do, and I guess maybe he's going to get married.
What a night. A victory over Kitao, and perhaps an acceptance of an engagement offer. Well,
see some of the fan support there, Bruce.
Well, we've got a lot more coming up later tonight, folks, so you've got to stay with us. But to get ready for our super fight bout is coming up later tonight. We're going to focus now on doing something special for you, some of the historic bouts that have set the scene for tonight's incredible matchup between Severn and Shamrock. So let's look back now at Ken Shamrock's very first appearance in the octagon. It was UFC 1, the place McNichols Arena in Denver. Bill Superfoot Wallace, Kathy Long calling the shots. The opponent, Patrick Smith.
Okay, now let's go to the fighters as they enter the ring. Okay. Entering the ring is Ken Shamrock. Looks very determined, very strong. This is, I would say, the strongest combatant in the ring today. Very strong, very agile, very good techniques. Remember, he likes the ground work also. Rod, if you understand, he also works the ground.
Yes, well, he certainly will have an element that will probably be to his own, Bill.
He's certainly one of the more well-rounded fighters as far as the different styles that he does. This should be very interesting.
Let's find out what Ken thinks about the fight tonight.
Hi, my name is Ken Shamrock. I'm fighting in the Pancake organization out of Japan. I go 1 week each month and fight over there. My style consists of feet fighting, fist fighting, and ground technique. I think I'm going to win this fight because I am well adapted and I have many tools to go into the ring and use. I can fight on the ground and I can fight standing up. So I think this is my chance to win.
And now let's welcome Pat Smith into the ring, please. There's quite a few people with him. He looks like he's kind of looking forward to this. Jim?
Well, I think he is. It's a good-looking young man.
Does this remind you of anything, Kathy?
Oh, yes, it certainly does. I don't know how many times I've gone down that aisle.
You know, it's still kind of ironic, but Hoyce was the only participant so far that wore the traditional judo top or the jiu-jitsu top.
Yes.
Everybody else is wearing shorts or wearing, you know, trunks somehow.
I don't think Koji had to worry about anybody grabbing hold of his gi against art.
But he's a pure jiu-jitsu man.
Yes. And like I say, it does work in their favor.
I'd say these two are certainly in great shape.
Let's hear what Pat Smith says about the fight.
My name is Patrick Smith from Aurora, Colorado. The reason I think I'm going to win this competition is because I'm the most strongest, powerfulest, craziest guy out of all the groups, I think. With my leg kicking, kneeing, powerful elbows and headbutts, and choking and grappling fighting, and the resistance of feeling pain is what's going to make me come out to be the ultimate champion.
Ladies and gentlemen, our fourth match of the evening. Please welcome your competitors. First, just back from the Japanese professional circuit. He's 6 foot, 215 pounds. He wrestles in the Japanese Pancrase Association, the #1 ranked shoot fighter with a professional record of 24-3-2. Please welcome out of the blue corner, Ken Wayne Shamrock. And his opponent from Denver, Colorado. 6'2", number 7 ranked super heavyweight kickboxer and the 1993 Sabaki Challenge heavyweight champion. An astounding record of 250-0. Please welcome Patrick Smith.
Interesting to see him wearing Thai boxing shorts.
Yes. Pat is wearing Thai boxing shorts. I think Ken is wearing the very simple swimming trunks just so you can't grab anything.
That's probably a good idea.
And he looks pretty good in his swimming trunks, too.
I have to admit, he looks pretty fantastic.
Oh, the muscles in the stomach.
Well, I guess he's not going to be throwing too many punches to the stomach, huh?
I don't think so.
They're having their little traditional meeting in the middle, getting ready to talk things over.
You
There's
feel
not
like
that much
being
to
out
talk.
there?
Not me. I'm with
Not
you. Let's go play some football.
This is your game,
Let's
baby.
go. I'm an old person. I'm 40. I'm an old person.
Superfoot.
If you want to wrestle, we can wrestle, but at least getting hit ruins your whole. I told you, pain hurts. They'll, again, Rod, also, I think there'll be a little bit of grappling into this.
I think you can count on it.
I definitely think so, too. Both fighters, oddly enough, look pretty dry. They haven't warmed up very much.
The shoot fighter's very familiar with the ground contact and ground grappling. And there's a nice clinch right there. And that's probably exactly where he wants him to be.
Yep.
That's interesting. Now you see what would be a classic Gracie guard position with the legs wrapped around the fighter. That is actually a very good defensive position. And holding the man's head down just like that just keeps him from changing a punch. Now watch what's going on with that foot. A foot on the back, right where the kidney is just like having a little ninja super glue to your back, Bill. That is not a comfortable feeling.
Seemed like it could kind of pain a fool a little bit.
Well, I'll tell you what, it sure does distract you from anything else. Your primary objective starts to become to get rid of that foot.
That has to be pretty stressful on Ken's neck, the way Pat's holding his head
right,
like that.
yes.
Yeah, that's real tough.
And they're trying to get close now. This is going to be a lot of strategy in this, but there's also going to be a lot of strength involved.
Yes.
And there's going to be some headbutting in there, too.
Very much
right there.
Yeah, you want to hold him a little bit. He's trying to hold him as close as he can. Still hard to change it. There goes a.
But they're not trying any really arm bars or chokes or anything. I think he just wants to kind of wear him down.
Exactly. Got some good balance there. Uh-oh, watch this. There's a foot lock. Watch it.
Now this is one of the locks that is in shoot fighting for the legs. Very painful for that shin.
Very, very much so.
Very painful.
Very opposite.
That's a good strike there to the chest.
What you're seeing is.
That's very smart of Pat, trying to at least alleviate some of the strain that's on that ankle.
But the kid's trying to go for that ankle lock right there, trying to position himself.
He's got it pretty good.
You know, the guy with the longer legs is the gentleman that usually works well on this. There's the tap out right there. Just too painful. Isn't that interesting? A very subtle move, but a very, very effective move. It is extremely painful. And
I think his knee's been turned out pretty hard there.
Yes, he didn't want to give. You know, take it easy.
Bill, you're dealing with two things there, either a good ankle break or one heck of a Charlie horse.
Now, the one thing is, I think he's kind of working with that ankle because he had a lot of pressure on that ankle.
Yes, very much so.
You ever have an ankle problem?
Not like that. That was definitely real. The pain was there. The man could not take it.
It just goes right to the heart of that ankle.
I can't believe they still want to fight. Look at after all this, they're still going after each other.
This is where the heart comes in. Nobody wants to give, but sometimes the pain is so much.
Bill, you know, that's so true. Nobody wants to lose to a foot lock. There's no glory in that.
But it's still very painful, and you got it. And if it hurts, it hurts. Yes. You have to quit. Once the pain goes away, come on, let's keep going.
Yes.
You know, it's funny, because Pat was saying earlier that he's pretty much oblivious to all pain.
57 of the first round, Ken Wayne Shamrock.
So that was a look back at a UFC moment. We are live in the Motor City, Detroit, Michigan, which started as a quiet city that brewed beer and produced carriages and stoves before the auto industry dominated the city. Now it's an American symbol of elbow grease and productive might. And we are live at UFC 9. Bruce Beck, Jeff Blatnick, Don the Dragon Wilson. Just a couple moments ago, Mark Hall scored a victory over Koji Kitao. He broke his nose. It happened in only 47 seconds. Here's a better look at what happened, guys.
There's the punch.
You can almost see a shadow on the side of the nose there after it got displaced.
And then the doctor, Stephen Goodman, checked it out and said, that's broken. I don't think Kitao wanted to continue.
You could see him wincing just when they touch it. Right there, you could tell it's broken.
Well, we've got a lot of celebrities on hand tonight, including Warrington Hudlin, the film producer. House Party among his movies. He's taking it all in and looks like he's enjoying it as well. Well, like we told you earlier tonight, we've got the Ultimate Fighting Championship online. This is your chance to ask our fight experts, Jeff and Don, any questions you might have about the fights tonight or the UFC in general. Helping us out as usual is Kevin Neenan from CompuServe. Here's how to do it. All you CompuServe members, log on and go convention to Ultimate Fighting Championship. We're there right now. Also, don't forget, after the show, we'll be doing a wrap-up in the same forum. One more time, if you're on CompuServe, go convention Ultimate Fighting Championship and join us live. And our first question tonight, should women be allowed to compete against each other in the UFC? Right now, as you look at Kevin Neenan from CompuServe, he's giving me the numbers. It's 92% yes and 8% no. So the folks at home, we appreciate your voting. Please continue to vote. We'll give the results later in the evening for the completed poll. And once again, don't forget, http://www.seg.com. We're on the World Wide Web, and you can certainly check us out tonight on CompuServe. All right, we've got a couple questions which have been handed us from Kevin. Michael in Idaho Falls asked, Jeff, do you think grappling is the true martial art of the future?
Well, grappling entails so many different elements that it's hard to say grappling. Well, I don't think wrestling is an end in itself, and I don't think being just proficient at grappling is an end in itself. I think you really have to take in some form of striking in order to be as effective as you possibly can.
All right, let's go to Don the Dragon. Buck in Dallas asked, Don, would you have fought in the UFC if they had it when you were competing?
Beyond a shadow of a doubt, I would have fought in it. I'm a mercenary just like these other guys here. As a matter of fact, I'm in negotiations right now with a possible fight at the UFC. So if the fans want it, I'll be in the UFC.
If you do fight in the UFC, who would be your trainer and who would be your manager?
Well, I've already committed. I've got my trainer sitting right over there, Jeff Blatnick. And then, of course, Jeff and I are going to go with some of the guys like Shamrock and Severn. We're going to train with them. But he's already verbally committed, so don't back out on me.
I said I'd help you with the grappling, not the receiving end of those kicks. Thank you.
Excluding me as usual, gentlemen. Now, Lisa in Newport Beach asks, what should I look for in a martial arts school if I'm just starting out? Good question.
Well, I think there's a number of different things. I mean, one, what you feel is best suited for you, what you like to do. But I think there's so many different hybrids now. Don't think that just one discipline is going to be an end in itself. I think all of them are effective. They all teach great discipline and learning how to control your body and learning how to get the most out of your body. But that's a personal feel. I would go with the teacher, the sensei, whoever you feel most comfortable with, and the rapport that you seem to be able to create.
I'll tell you, one of the greatest teachers in the world when you talk about boxing is Emmanuel Stewart from the legendary Kronk Gym right here in Detroit. He's worked with the hitman Thomas Hearns. He's currently working with Lennox Lewis. He has trained more than 20 world champions. He's sitting right there with Big Lou, Luther Campbell. Folks, he's one of the great trainers in all of boxing. And he, too, is enjoying the UFC here tonight. Our next bout of the evening. And it is a heck of a matchup. Don Frye, who won UFC number 8, taking on Amaury Bitetti, another of the greats from Rio de Janeiro, and a late replacement for Marco Ruas. Here's the tale of the tape. Frye is 3 years older. Frye is 4 inches taller. Frye has a 25-pound advantage, and it is America against Brazil. Classic matchup. Both are grapplers. And the Predator, Don Frye, will be the first to make his way to the octagon. No, it's Amaury Bitetti from Rio de Janeiro. First UFC, the reigning international jiu-jitsu champion. Trained by Osvaldo Alves. His interpreter and co-manager, Sergio Montero. Co-manager is Tom Huggins. He is from the Carlson Gracie School, used to be his trainer. He fights and represents the Carlson Gracie Academy. His discipline, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Well, without a doubt, he's the classic jiu-jitsu artist, but he is more aggressive than the other Brazilian fighters, is what they came right out and said. Said he will strike with his hands and with his elbows. Obviously, he's going to be great on the ground.
A closer look right now at Amaury Bitetti.
I am Amaury Bitetti, Jiu-Jitsu fighter of the world. I'm here to win.
There's a good look at Bitetti. More aggressive, he says, than some of the other Brazilians. Likes to punch, throw elbows, got a lot of ground technique. He is from Rio de Janeiro. And his opponent was simply awesome in his first appearance at the UFC. He ran the table in UFC 8. He's managed by the Beast Dan Severn, trained by Russ Harris and Steve Owen. His strength and conditioning coach is Becky Levy, the silver medalist in the World Games at the 1987 Women's Olympic Weightlifting Division. His name, the Predator, Don Frye. He wrestled at Arizona State, Oklahoma State, a former firefighter.
Don Frye considers himself a grappler, a wrestler, but you know, he's a former pro boxer and he knocked out several guys at the last UFC. He is a competitive wrestler, he's good at takedowns, and he will strike on the ground. In fact, he won 2 of his bouts that way.
Don the Predator Frye from Sierra Vista, Arizona.
I'm Don Frye, the returning Ultimate Fighting Champion. I'm returning tonight to retain my title. There can be only one.
He sees himself as a combination of Marco Huas and Oleg Tiktarov, and there's his opponent. Very calm and comfortable at the interviews we had with him yesterday, Amaury Bitetti. Let's go to the G-Man, Rich Goings, for the formal introduction.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the competitors for our 5th bout of the evening. A 27-year-old fighter, he holds a 2nd-degree black belt in the art of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu with black belts in Judo and Muay Thai, 5'9", 185 pounds, Brazilian and reigning international Jiu-Jitsu champion with a record of 150-1. From Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, Amaury Bitetti. And his opponent, fighting out of Sierra Vista, Arizona, a 2nd-degree black belt in the art of Judo, former pro boxer and Greco-Roman wrestler, 30 years old, 6'1", 210 pounds, undefeated in the octagon. The reigning Ultimate Fighting Champion, the Predator, Don Frye.
Call him Magnum UFC.
Okay, Bruce, I love this matchup. We have an expert ground attack specialist in Bitetti. Frye, a great grappler. So how is Bitetti going to get him on the ground? And if he does, it's probably going to be, I think, with Bitetti on his back. On the feet, Bitetti says he can punch. We already know Frye can.
Here we go, baby. Are you ready?
Well, I see.
Well, let's get it on.
The ground attack would probably be Bitetti.
Oh, they lock up pretty good.
Well, he's definitely more aggressive than the other Brazilians we've seen.
He said he would be. Elbow by Frye. Bitetti hangs in there. Bitetti has him up against the back of the octagon.
Open hand, let's go.
Look at this grapple on their feet. A knee by Frye.
Boy, this is a lot of energy right here by both these guys.
Who's going to go down? When and who will be on top when they do go down?
Bitetti wants to get down. Frye doing a great job of staying up on the feet. He'll let Bitetti push him right into that fence and use the fence to keep himself upright. And you're not going to take down a wrestler with a double leg from that distance.
No. Frye's got the wrestling experience.
Go, open the head, open the head.
Bitetti and Frye locked up against the fence. Trying to move the battle away from it now. Frye lands a right hand. Uppercut by Frye.
And there's not a lot of technique when they're inside like this.
It's a little too close, but you know, he could be using knees right now. He could be taking out this Brazilian with a knee.
Classic wizard position. Frye doing a good job, but he keeps giving up underhooks.
I'm telling you, where he's at right now, that body is wide open.
Some good punches by Frye.
He's stunned. He's stunned. Bitetti is stunned.
Frye might be the best puncher we've seen in this competition.
He had him stunned, but that only lasts about a second and a half. He's going to recuperate fast here.
Elbows, I think. There you go. Here it's classic grappling, but he doesn't want to fall into the guard. Otherwise, we're going to have one of these slowdowns, and that's going to let Bitetti.
I don't think Frye is going to slow down. I think he'll punch from this position.
Well, we'll find out how good Bitetti is in the guard now. Will Frye have room to go ahead and strike?
The crowd chanting USA as Frye tries to unload a punch. A kick by Bitetti from the ground. Bitetti continues to move, continue to look for a better position as they get back to their feet.
Open up!
Hey, I'll tell you, both these guys have spent some energy.
The knee to the body is so wide open here. If he threw one, that would be it.
Bitetti got landed with a right from Frye. Another right by Frye.
These are trading.
Bitetti in trouble.
Oh, there's a knee. Another one. Another one. He's wide open for the knees. Bitetti is wide open for the knees. He could be going to the groin, to the leg, to the body. He's wide open.
Boy, Frye is just dominating.
He has just pummeled him.
Let's go. Come on.
Bitetti is very bloody.
Frye doesn't want to get down there wrapped up in a guard.
A knee to the face by Frye.
He should be using those knees and even the elbows from this position. Not the hands, the elbows.
The Brazilians are great at relaxing. It's hard to choke them just by smothering.
I wouldn't go for a choke. You can beat this guy with a strike.
Here it comes.
There it is.
Oh my gosh.
That's all he needs, another one.
McCarthy is close by. Frye continues to pummel his elbows.
Believe me, those little punches by Bitetti are not having the same kind of effect as that forearm coming down.
Way to work.
He's in the guard now. He's got to be careful.
This is a tremendous battle.
And I don't mean to discredit Frye. It's just that's the strength of the Brazilian is right here. This is where the Brazilian is most dangerous. Frye, I'm sure, has trained in this position.
Yes, but those elbows, I mean...
He's taking some punishment.
Without a doubt, Frye is in control here.
A lot of time to go, too. How much punishment can Bitetti absorb?
Big John McCarthy is out there. He's right on top of it, and you can see that
it takes a lot of energy to hold on to Frye like this. And those elbows just coming down on his head. All he needs to do is get about 4 inches away and come down with an elbow to do damage. You can't do that with a punch, but you can do it with an elbow.
Well, action has slowed once they get to this guard position. It's much more difficult to have any real effective strikes unless you can mount, and I doubt Frye is going to be able to pass the guard.
Still 7+ minutes left in regulation. And it looked for a while there that
this is how you get somebody to let go. He's going to let go. He's not going to be able to continually take these body shots in the same spot. There he goes. You see, he's letting go of Frye.
But Frye spends a lot of energy here, staying up on the toes, driving forward. He was doing so well on his feet. You got to question this tactic. Maybe he can't get out of it.
Yeah, I don't think he wants to be here. I think he's here because this is where they've ended up. If he had stayed on his feet another 10 seconds, he probably would have knocked Bitetti out.
It seemed that Bitetti was in dire trouble there.
Yeah, he was reeling and rocking.
But this allows him to regain his poise.
There goes the mouthpiece.
Let's go, work it.
Not sure you can call this rest, but certainly the level of activity has dropped off substantially. But they're still working hard.
Frye still hammering away at the body.
I saw some open hand strikes there by Frye. He may have hurt his hand.
Get it off, get it off, get it off, get it off.
And a restart by John McCarthy.
Well, it could be a good break for Frye in the fact that on their feet, he's superior.
He's cut. They're going to check the cut.
Bitetti cut pretty good. He didn't even know which way was his corner there.
No, he's pretty much going in and out of it at this point.
This has by far been the biggest, fastest pace we have had. We've had more action in these few minutes than many fights have through their duration once the guard's employed.
These guys are great. This has been a tremendous battle so far.
Evenly matched, about the same size. One's favored on the ground, the other's a little bit better striker on the feet. So far, Frye. With that grappling defense, that really helped keep Bitetti off.
Absolutely. Just basic wrestling experience.
Bitetti is a warrior.
Corner now, let's go. You ready? You ready?
How much
let's
does
get it going.
Bitetti have left? Because Frye looks much fresher. 6 minutes to go in regulation.
Frye's back on top.
Frye looks much fresher.
He might be able to pass, but see, if he leaves his arms behind here, this is where it gets dangerous.
Big elbow by
back
Frye.
of the head. And Bitetti didn't like that. He got right out of that.
Bitetti showing the will of the great Brazilian.
But those elbows from Frye, he cannot take those all night long. Talk about cuts, he's going to have them.
The mouthpiece is out to breathe, too, so he is exhausted. I'm sure Frye is feeling it. There's been so much action, and this isn't a discredit to them. They're in great shape. Just the level of the pace has been so high.
There was no feeling out period.
No, not at all. This was straight out.
Oh, there's the elbow again. There's the elbow.
Oh, man, those elbows are brutal. Oh, you can feel it.
Oh, they're only inches away from him.
Short.
It's what I've said all along. Those short elbows, even against a grappler, all you need is 3 inches.
Now you can see Frye taking a blow here. He's pulled himself back, kept his balance.
I think he was just taking a little breather.
Oh, yeah, you can't throw punches constantly. It's sprinting. You just can't do that. I don't think he's going to be able to submit with that key lock. Maybe he's using this to think Bitetti, or set Bitetti up with coming back with another hammer strike.
All he needs is a few inches to do damage with those elbows.
They're
going to stop this fight soon.
The cuts. Come on, let's go, Don, doing good.
You know, I heard they were talking about the fists, that they didn't like the punching, but the hands do the least of damage when it comes to strikes.
Good strike, let's go.
Frye continuing to dominate.
At this point, he could be using those elbows to the body. There he goes.
Let's go.
You would think if you caught one
Get it up,
on a rib bone, boy, it would be difficult to breathe.
Let's go. Get it up. Get up.
And McCarthy again looking for a restart.
He's almost got to
I don't
pick up.
think he's got any energy.
Bitetti is looking exhausted here.
He's taking a beating every time. It's the same story. He gets on the bottom, he takes the elbows.
I don't know how much more Dr. Richard Istrigo will allow.
How you feel? You want to go? What is he saying? More?
More. He's saying more.
Look at him.
He's got the will of a fighter.
He looks hurt.
He's saying more, but I'm not sure if he still realizes where he's even standing at this point.
I think his heart is
look at him.
incredible.
He's leaning forward even in that stance there.
He's holding on to the doctors.
He's very, very fatigued.
He's taken a tremendous beating tonight.
I don't think a fighter should be able to say sometimes that he wants to continue, because sometimes he just doesn't know, but they're letting him go.
I think the doctor said if he's down and takes any more, he's going to stop it. That was his parting words to McCarthy. He looked at him and said if he's down, he wants him out.
See, he can't even take a good take.
Knees to the top of the head.
Again.
And you see the disadvantage of wearing pads. They can be grabbed. He's grabbing onto Frye's shorts as well as his knee sleeve.
3:30 left in this one-sided assault by Frye.
He's grabbing, but these are survival tactics.
And that collapse was one of fatigue. You just saw it slowly sink down. Bitetti hanging on here, but I think this is all Frye.
He's a tough guy, but it's just how much of a beating. There it goes to his back, the elbows, to the body. Same spot.
3 minutes. How much
He's
more
going for a knee. He's going for a knee again. And there's nothing Bitetti can do to stop that knee.
Now that knee is just finding the head every time.
There's nothing he can do.
This domination by Frye here is
total domination.
Total.
On the feet, on the ground, strikes.
I think that should do it.
I think that's it.
That should do it.
Good job, Doc.
That's it. That's it.
That's it.
That's about all the beating he could take for one night.
McCarthy did a good thing here.
Matches in UFC history. The winner from Sierra Vista, Arizona, Dan Frye.
What a war this one was. 9:30 of punishment.
That Bitetti was a tough guy.
Oh, what a heart he's got.
He just didn't have enough to stop Dan Frye.
Tremendous medal by Bitetti. Tremendous offensive showing by Frye.
Well, that definitely proves that the UFC that Frye won was no fluke. He's here to stay.
I think that he's got the most lethal ability.
He can strike on that ground. He can strike with his hands, with his elbows, with his knees. He can grapple.
Wow. Was that explosive? Yeah, it was difficult to watch after a while to see him take that many blows, Dragon, and you've been in the ring yourself so many times.
Right, when it comes to the strikes, I've been there before, and I just saw the Brazilian fighter just taking a pummeling.
Here's a look at some of the action, Don.
Here he's dishing some out, but the short hook from Frye had more than he could take. Here he's dazed, he's trying to grab. Frye then goes to the knees, which was a good tactic. He could have used it more. He's shooting the knees to the head, but really the body was what was open for those knees. These are just half-hearted shoots by Bitetti.
Knees and elbows from Frye.
From the first minute to the last, Frye was in control. There's the elbows to the body.
Well, Frye said, they say the wolf climbing the mountain is hungrier, but for the wolf on top of the hill, the food is always there.
Well, he must have been eating good this week.
Well, you know, he gets free pizza at Pizza Hut because they all know him now.
And there's the knees at the top of the head, which Bitetti could not stop. He's trying to just, out of desperation, hold his pants.
Bitetti giving away 25 pounds was significant. The strength factor was not there.
Well, you know, the 25 pounds wouldn't have mattered if Frye was not so technically sound. You know, the size has proven not to be the only factor, but if you've got size, strength, and technique.
Let's go to Jeff Platnick.
Well, Don, great fight. Every time we see you, we become more impressed. Did that fight go the way you wanted? What was your strategy going in?
No, actually it took me a lot longer than I figured. I think my ego got in the way, and I underestimated my opponent, which can lead to a bad situation for anybody, and it wasn't a good situation for myself.
Well, I would think you totally dominated every phase of that fight.
Thank you. We figured it'd probably go about 30 to 60 seconds. Obviously, he's a lot better competitor than what we gave him credit for.
Are you someone that feels comfortable in that guard position?
Oh, yes, I have no problem with being in the guard. I'm real comfortable in that. Actually, it's a rest for myself.
Well, your striking ability has continued to impress us. What do you want from the UFC now? Who are you looking for? What is it that you have as a goal in the future?
I'd like to fight one of the Gracies. I'd like the honor to fight one of the Gracies. And I think they have a tremendous style, but I believe that my style is better. Thanks to Russ Harris, my personal trainer here, Becky Levi, my strength and conditioning coach, Steve Owens, who is the best armbar man around in the world, and my large brother Craig there, who, when I was growing up, he used to beat me like a redheaded stepchild and taught me how to take a punch.
Well, right now, I think we can honestly say you're one of the most complete fighters we've seen. Striking, grappling, you seem to have it all.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I love being here in Detroit. I think it's a fantastic town. You know, I'm at heart a Union man, and I think it's spectacular to be here. The warmth, the love, and the energy I feel from these people is fantastic.
You're a class act down. Congratulations. Good luck in the future. Back to you, Bruce.
Okay, thank you very much, Jeff. Well, we still got the super fight to come. Shamrock and Severn. It's the rematch, and it's just ahead. Well, a lot of you UFC fans have been asking us about official UFC merchandise. Where'd you get those t-shirts? Well, here's how to get it. The Ultimate Fighting Championship. This event is not for the faint of heart.
Now you can own the official UFC 9 fightwear. Take home the UFC 9 baseball cap or the UFC 9 t-shirt. Also available are other official UFC Ultimate apparel. Let's get it on, man! Know the fighters, their stories, and their stats. You can also own the UFC 9 official commemorative program. Don't miss the action. Call for past events now available on video. Have your credit card ready and call 1-800-525-6465.
So the buildup continues to Severn and Shamrock. Now let's take a look at the man they call the Beast. UFC 5 Kingpin, Ultimate Champion Dan Severn, who looks to avenge his loss to Shamrock in the UFC 6 super fight. No other fighter has grown in the UFC like Dan Severn. Just 18 months ago, he was a highly touted newcomer with over 70 national and international wrestling titles to his credit. But the moment the gate closed, Dan Severn disappeared, and the Beast let loose. Now backflip by Severn.
That's just a straight back suplex. He'll do it again if Macias steps up too hard. Wow! Oh, that's gotta hurt. That's gotta hurt. You saw Macias shake his head.
It took three-time champion Royce Gracie a record 15 minutes to stop Severn and take the title in UFC 4.
That's it. Oh! He choked him out. Choked him out.
4 months later at UFC 5, Dan was back, crushing the competition with a devastating arsenal of classic grappling techniques. Joe Charles was the first to fall, then Oleg Tiktarov, then David Beneteau. No question that night belonged to Severn and earned him a super fight title shot with Ken Shamrock. The UFC 6 super fight, however, was a different story. The Rock frustrated the Beast, forcing a mistake and sending Severn back to the drawing board. Fast forward to Denver and the Ultimate, the toughest field the Octagon had ever seen. Abbott, Jenna, Taktarov, Huas, and Severn. Armed with a new trainer and new skills, the Beast was indeed back, flattening Paul Varland, hammering Tank Abbott, and mauling Oleg Tiktarov. Severn had indeed proven himself to be the best of the best. Tonight, Dan Severn gets a second shot at Ken Shamrock. No doubt, the Beast has earned it. He is from Coldwater, Michigan. Let's listen to the reception. Over 70 national, international, state, and Pan-American titles. He coached the Michigan Wrestling Club. He coached college wrestling for 8 years. 25 years of amateur experience in everything from wrestling to judo to sambo to kickboxing to the tough man. He fought in Cuba on a dirt floor. The Beast, Dan Severn. He has transcended wrestling to a new dimension.
Well, Dan said he's up the power for this, so he feels he has to be a little more cautious, definitely more patient. He's a master grappler. He's probably the best grappler we have here. His finishes have been the most suspect, and he's learned how to do that on the ground by using strikes and a few finishing holds.
The Beast, Dan Severn. Let's get his thoughts coming into this super fight tonight.
I'm at rest and at peace. But later this evening, it'll be time to release the Beast.
The Beast, Dan Severn. Well, this man's name has become synonymous with the Ultimate Fighting Championship. He's appearing in his 7th UFC, has lost only once, never in a super fight. Let's take a closer look at the defending champion, Ken Shamrock. When future generations study the early days of the UFC, it's a sure bet they'll be studying this man, Ken Shamrock. He's been here since the beginning. He's fought the very best the Octagon has to offer. Combining awesome physical power and flawless technique, The Rock remains undefeated in super fight competition. Gracie couldn't beat him. Taktarov couldn't beat him. Chemo couldn't beat him. Neither could Dan Severn. Shamrock has also proven himself a skilled teacher, grooming 2 of his Lions Den students, Scott Bazak and Jerry Bolander, for UFC competition. As a student, a teacher, and a tactician, Shamrock analyzes his opponents, then exploits their weaknesses.
Were you surprised that when he shot there, he just left his head between your legs where you could easily grab it?
No, he's done that before. Every time he puts somebody in the fence, he reaches up for the head and reaches down for the leg. So I had to clear my head, then go for his head.
Tonight he faces Severn once more. Can Shamrock tame the Beast again? The rematch is next. And here comes the UFC Super Fight champion from Lockford, California. A chorus of boos and cheers. And he looks ready. The Japanese pancrase shoot fighting champion, the former king of pancrase. 13-2 in Pancrase Association fights. 10-1 in Fujiwara Gama fights.
Ken Shamrock has been with the UFC since the beginning, but even before that, he was a shoot fighter. He is a master at submissions. He can stand and fight. He's a heavy hitter on the ground, and he's well conditioned.
He's managed by Bob Shamrock, trained by Masa Funaki. Here's Kenny.
I'm here in Detroit, Michigan to defend my World Super Fight title, and I will defend it. I'd like to say hi to my sons, Ryan, Connor, and Sean. I love you guys. I'll see you back home.
He's lost only once to Royce Gracie. He drew a Taktarov and Gracie. The scene is set. Here's the G-Man, Rich Goins.
Ladies and gentlemen, SEG Sports Corporation presenting UFC 9 and the bout you've been waiting for, the Clash of the Titans. Introducing, first to my left, a man with over 85 national and international titles in Sambo, Greco-Roman, and freestyle wrestling, UFC 5 Ultimate Fighting Champion, Ultimate Champion, 37 years old, 6'2", 247 pounds, from Coldwater, Michigan. The Beast is back. Ladies and gentlemen, Dan Severn. And his opponent in the Clash of the Titans, representing the art of shoot fighting from Lockford, California, undefeated in UFC Super Fight competition, 32 years old, 215 pounds. The master of the Octagon, Ken "The Rock" Shamrock.
24-minute time limit with 2 3-minute overtimes. 30 possible minutes. Shamrock and Severn. Rematch of UFC 6. Shamrock won with a guillotine choke in 2 minutes and 15 seconds in that bout. Here's a look at the tail of the tape. Shoot fighting, Greco-Roman wrestling. Severn is 5 years older. He says his window of opportunity is waning. Severn at 247, Shamrock at a robust, solid 215. Here we go. John McCarthy will start it up.
I think we're looking at the 2 best fighters in the UFC currently. Gracie's the only other one who's got their kind of records.
The last time they stayed on their feet the whole time, and Shamrock choked them out. Severn has told us he wants to get to the mat.
Severn doing a lot of moving. I think Shamrock likes this. He's looking at a big guy, moving around a lot, spending some energy.
Shamrock said he'll be very patient. There's not a lot of love lost between these two guys. Severn said that Shamrock dissed him in the post-fight interview at UFC 6.
I think they both have a lot of class. What was said after a bout, I didn't quite really believe that Severn, dislikes Shamrock. I think he was more disappointed with his performance.
And again, it's like a chess match. Neither one wants to be the pawn. Both want to be the king of the super fight.
I don't know what Dan is doing unless he's just trying to draw Ken out to shoot for him. Because just moving around the ring without throwing strikes at all, I mean, he's not opening anything up.
It's all movement, no strikes thus far. Like some form of kata.
Well, neither of the fighters can kick because they've got the shoes on. So it's going to have to be punches of some kind.
And notice Severn is circling to the right. That's away from the power hand of Shamrock, the right hand.
And again, they're slapping again because these guys know they need their hands for this match. They don't want to break a knuckle early.
Neither one wants to make a mistake. And coming off a ferocious last bout, which was filled with punches, this one has started very uneventfully.
This is very cautious. I agree with Don. Severn must be trying something there.
I think he's trying to draw Ken to come at him.
I think Dan ought to stop moving. That's the best way to draw somebody to you. If you're moving, it's hard to come at you.
Shamrock trying to land a right hand.
Well, if they do this kind of slap fighting, I kind of think Shamrock's going to win because these are the rules of the pancrase. They're allowed to strike open-handed standing up. And so Ken is used to this.
And even referee John McCarthy is becoming impatient. 3 minutes in. Fans don't know what to do. These are the 2 best fighters maybe right now in the UFC. And neither one willing to take a shot.
Those are the first steps forward that Ken's really taken. Severn's been mainly circling, not really moving forward, but circling, and every now and then just kind of feigning in and out.
Dragon, can Severn fatigue himself?
Yeah, this takes more energy. Obviously, it takes more energy to cover all the distance that he's going right now, because all Ken is doing is turning, pivoting, whereas Severn is using probably 3 times the energy to be dancing around like that.
Severn must really believe in his shape at this point.
I think the audience wants him to get it on.
Still nothing happening except mental games.
I think who's going to lose their composure and hear the crowd booing and have that pride of saying, hey, I'm a fighter. And you got to keep your strategies. Maintain your poise. Don't break the game plan unless you're forced to.
And the longer you go like this, guys, I think the harder it is to engage. Because you become more cautious. It's a very long fight as far as time is concerned.
30 minutes if you include the 2 overtimes.
Right. That's like a 10-round fight in boxing. You can't dance for 10 rounds.
And it's continuous. You don't get the minute breaks.
Right. Very good point.
Severn's mouth is still basically closed. Doesn't look like he's really sucking wind in any way.
Neither fighter wants to come out of his game plan, whatever that is. Maybe it's to make the other guy shoot. Nobody's trying to get to the mat. And these are two grapplers.
Jeff, is this approach more of an approach not to lose rather than to try to win?
Well, I'll say this. I'm sure Shamrock didn't expect to see a big guy like Severn bouncing around on his toes out in front of him, feigning and jabbing and moving. I think he probably expected the big bull rush.
Shamrock landed a pretty stiff right palm on the face of Severn.
Severn is working a very good sweat, and Shamrock is still relatively dry. So it's taking a lot out of Severn.
Just slowing down a little bit.
This is interesting here. In wrestling, we'd say the guy with the back to the center of the ring is the one who is not stalling, but at the same time, he's not moving forward either.
Well, in the city which invented Motown music, this is a slow dance. And still, Dan Severn and Ken Shamrock circle the octagon. Shamrock lands a punch.
I think he might have caught a finger in the eye, too.
Severn didn't like it. We have never seen a fight this long without some type of engagement.
Thus far, this has been nothing but a total feeling out process or a drawing out process, one of the two. And I think the drawing out isn't working. But that's all part of the game.
When it begins, it will begin. Perhaps in a flurry. Or then they might stalemate with their hands.
Well, I really think what they're doing is not the strength of either combatant. Shamrock may have some boxing talent, may feel he's a better puncher, but he is not the awesome striker that we've seen from some of these people, particularly like a Don Frye. And Severn certainly isn't known for his striking skills. He's competent, but he's definitely not his strength.
We've got two master grapplers slap fighting.
It's basically what I'm looking at.
Masa Fadaki is in Shamrock's corner, the king of Pancrase. Richard Hamilton and Todd Prince, the trainers for Severn. And what must be going through their minds right now?
There's a setting up process here.
And that was a decent counter by Severn. He caught Shamrock underneath the left eye.
And there's a mark there.
There's a good welt there, so Severn scored.
Might just be a cut, too, a small fingernail type cut. They don't have fingernails, but he might have just, you know,
there's a look at
the skin.
The king of
could have been the glove also. He was, Dan has the gloves on.
Right, the open finger glove. This one is a shocker thus far.
Certainly not what we expected. We thought these two would be all over each other, but they both expressed they want to be patient. Certainly they've done that.
Well, after the last fight, which was a barn burner, this is kind of lackluster, anticlimactic.
We thought there would be high octane here in the Motor City, but thus far there's been a lack of fuel.
Shamrock now starting to come out a little bit.
He's getting a little more aggressive with his hands.
You're almost saying, come on, come on. You can almost see him mouthing those words.
9 minutes in, and still no clutching and grabbing. A few punches thrown by Severn, a few more by Shamrock. Blood flowing from the left cheekbone area of Shamrock. Might have been that glove, might have been the shot that Dan threw at him. Are you guys puzzled by this?
I'm very puzzled. We don't have a whole lot to talk about here.
No,
the action's clearing itself
since the first 5 seconds.
There's no sense of urgency with still 14 minutes left in regulation.
I'm surprised John McCarthy's not really all over these guys, because if this was a boxing match, the referee would be stopping, talking, doing everything to get the fighters to lock up.
The only guy who ever won a round in boxing without throwing a punch was the legendary Willie Pep. He was so good defensively.
I think John's going to have to break it and have a talk with the fighters. You can't just stare at each other.
And McCarthy is in the face of both guys.
All right, let's go.
Here we go. Let's see if that little pep talk did something.
Well, they can't find the fighters, which means you're not going to make the money you thought. I mean, I hate to think that it would take that to get them to initiate some type of aggressive attack.
Let me ask you this, Don. If this continues through, how would you score this?
I can't give a winner.
A draw, perhaps?
I could possibly come away with that. I could probably say we had two guys who were...
Well, we've had draws without the judges in super fights, but can we have a draw with the judges?
No, we can't. They have to vote one way or another, and we've got 3 judges, and my accounting background tells me that's impossible.
What happens if all 3 say draw?
I don't think they're encouraged to, but it's possible.
I'll tell you, these are 2 of the greatest fighters in the world, but they're not fighting.
Now, I say let's give them a chance. They've entertained us before. Maybe something's in the works here.
Almost 12 minutes in to this highly touted super fight. And it's been more super hype than super fight thus far.
Right, I got to watch what I say, or these guys are going to be wanting to jump on me, but...
And something's been thrown into the octagon. That's not good.
The crowd wants to see some rip-roaring, and neither athlete, neither combatant really wants to go in at close range. Not yet, anyway.
Shamrock with a left hand, followed it with a right. A combination.
That's the best action thus far.
Okay, so on the basis of that, I have to give the
I think we
about to Shamrock. He's landed a couple of shots.
Who would you say is the aggressor? I think I can count on one hand who's taken, or between the 2 of them, how many steps have been taken forward. Most of this has just been circling and pivoting.
Circling and pivoting, yeah. Oh,
a right hand, a right
there you go.
Shamrock.
There you go.
I do believe we're going to see a change of tactic here after 2 successful combinations by Shamrock.
Severn can ill afford to just eat punches.
No, he's down now. I mean, if we're going to take the strikes, Shamrock may have a little blood on his face, but Dan's been hit more.
Minutes in. Still no clutching, no engaging by either fighter. Now Shamrock lands a right, and he's starting to find the range. I don't think this is a battle that Severn can win on his feet in terms of punching.
No, this is the last thing I thought he would do. I really didn't think he would try to make it a boxing match with Ken Shamrock.
Well, especially since Shamrock has done the shoot fighting, and in shoot fighting, you can open hand strike standing up, so he's done this before. He's done this for years.
Ooh, big right hand went over the top, and now Shamrock's moving forward. Shamrock looked as though he was going to go after Severn, but now he's pivoting again.
Both of you 2 have been in combat many times before. Can you outthink? Can you overthink as a fighter and try too hard on a plan and sometimes get yourself wrapped up more in the plan than in the fight?
Potentially that could be it. You create an image in your mind that's hard to break, even though realistically it's not there.
Now there's an opportunity for Dan to drop down and take one of those legs out from under Ken, but he didn't do it. He just pushed him away and back up. It's like he's dug into his game plan. He can't get out of it.
Severn said in the interview yesterday that he thought it would go the distance, and Shamrock said he thought it would be over quickly.
You know, I don't know if Severn's left-handed either.
He could be switching to southpaw. That's a tactic used in boxing all the time to try to confuse the opponent.
But if you're not a puncher, who are you fooling?
crowd is chanting boring.
Well, you know, I'm going to have to agree with him there, because when there's a lot of strategy that's effectively being applied, it's still exciting just to watch the technique.
Or the chess game.
Right.
Here, I can't figure out the moves, and I certainly don't understand the strategy by either. I know patience is a virtue, but...
And you know you don't want to make a mistake.
That's the bottom line, I think, of fueling Dan Severn.
But I believe as the fight gets longer, you become more cautious. Your time wanes. .8:30 on the clock in regulation.
I mean, if you remember, the addition of judges is a recent thing for the UFC. And so they can't just be sitting back expecting the judges to decide this. I mean, that's...
And there goes Severn in on a leg.
He's got the leg.
Severn working, spinning around on Shamrock. Shamrock breaks away.
I thought Shamrock had him by the head there for a minute.
He was looking for it. And I'll tell you, I think that boasted Shamrock's confidence and may have frustrated Severn. He had an opportunity, it got away.
Let me ask you this, Jeff. Do you remember when crowds would scream when they were on their feet punching and be quiet when they were on the ground? Now they're starting to appreciate the ground fighting.
Oh, without a doubt. They're beginning to understand it more. This telecast helps educate people in terms of fighting skills.
Absolutely. They see the value of the ground fighting now. When they hit that ground, this crowd came alive.
So it was Severn who went in on the leg of Shamrock. Nothing came out of it.
Well, Severn's plan worked. He had the opportunity, but he lost it. Credit Shamrock with good defense, and again, give Severn credit for his aggressiveness. He did take that risk. I said this was too close to call prior to the fight. I think Shamrock might have had the better strikes thus far. There's only been one ground attack, and that was Severn's. So it's so difficult.
And the crowd is starting to chant, "Let's go Red Wings." Well, you can see where their heart is after last night's overtime victory. There goes Severn
There he goes.
again.
He whipped for the leg. He's got the leg. He's got the leg.
Severn in on that left ankle.
Severn's in trouble.
Shamrock grabbed the knee.
Severn's in trouble. Let's see what he's got for a guard here. He turned the wrong way coming out the back door. He should have followed the leg.
I thought he had it there for a minute, Jeff.
He turned the wrong way, and he allowed Shamrock to scoot to the side.
Is that Shamrock in the mount now, Jeff?
Shamrock is in the mount right now, legs outside. Severn hanging on, and Kenny will go ahead and start to try to get some strikes into Severn's head.
A little bit of an elbow, a little bit of a blow with the open hand to the head. Under 6 minutes in regulation. And let's see if Shamrock can start employing some power.
Severn's going to try to arch him off. And you can see from this angle, there it is, Shamrock's got his legs crossed, which means he's got a hold around Severn's hips and thighs, and that's going to be awful difficult for Severn just to brute strength him off.
Elbow by Kenny Shamrock.
I think he watched that last fight, and he saw how effective it was for Don Frye. Those little short elbows.
You see how you collapse. Try to push yourself up on top. If the bottom man turns, you just act like a bag of sand and drop. Don't try to fight the pressure. Just absorb it and maintain your base and your parallelness to the ground, to the mat.
5 minutes to go in regulation. There is 2 3-minute overtimes.
What we say in wrestling is always stay belly down. And that way your hips are underneath you.
Shamrock trying to free that right hand and does. Goes to the belly. Those will hurt. They'll stay with you until the wee hours of the morning.
Next week. Rib shots don't heal quickly.
No, it's the accumulation of blows. What about the grip being employed there by Severn?
Straight out grip trying to keep Shamrock's head down. Shamrock will be very tough there.
I don't see Dan getting him off in this position here.
I don't think. I think
he's too experienced.
I think the best tactic for Severn might be to try to hope for a stalemate or a non-activity period and get a restart.
So clearly, you know, if Dan was thinking he could get in this position, he's better off doing it with 4 minutes left in regulation than 18 minutes in regulation, because he'll get a restart at the end of regulation time.
Severn on the bottom, wearing the gloves. Shamrock on top.
This is the super fight in UFC 9 in Detroit, Michigan. At Cobo Arena, Ken Shamrock in the mount position. Dan Severn trying to work from the ground, from his back. Now arching the back.
And Shamrock is going to bring that leg forward and sit back. That one connected on the side of Severn's head, the left ear area, that elbow by Shamrock. That's a good way to break your hand. Punching the head, he changed to an open palm strike.
Another open palm strike by Shamrock. They've been going for 21 plus minutes.
Well, he's going to get his opportunity at the first overtime. Severn will. It'll be an opportunity to get back to the feet.
But then he's in a position where he's got to make something happen.
Certainly, he's trailing now, without a doubt.
It took until the 8-minute mark before Severn shot a single leg, was unable to capitalize. And then at the 6-minute mark, Shamrock is able to get Severn down. Shot to the body by Ken Shamrock, another. Right to the ribs.
Keep working, doing good.
Well, I think that's going to do it. I mean, there's enough activity here. McCarthy will not stop it. And point-wise, Shamrock is racking them up.
Shamrock has the physical power to hold anybody under it. A minute 40 to go. Severn makes a quick move. Severn with the reversal.
Oh my gosh. I can't believe that.
And a headbutt from Severn and another. And now it's Shamrock in the guard.
Shamrock is cut. He's got a new cut.
It's on the right eye area. Severn begins to pound away.
This is where Dan Severn wants to be. He wants to be in the mount.
It's a hungry Severn. Look at him exerting the strength and power. A minute to go in regulation.
This is a new fight now.
Whoa.
Severn is catching up.
Whoa, and I tell you what.
Shamrock's getting popped pretty good in the face, and he's bleeding pretty good.
He's taking more punishment. Boy, Severn hung in there, and he waited, bided his time, made the big risk to get away.
Man.
And it worked. He is starting now to take advantage of being in this top position.
I don't know how he got out of that. He has done more damage in 30 seconds than Ken was able to do in 10 minutes.
Come on.
Final seconds of regulation. A big right hand by Severn to Shamrock's face. Another one. Ken's right eye is very bloody.
He may lose this just on the cut.
Wow. Back to their corners, and I believe it is overtime now.
Look at me. Should be going in overtime unless they stop the clock. I don't think they do.
If this is dangerous for Ken. That cut's in a bad spot. Right over the right eye.
So
it's a bad break.
You talk about starting off slow. It's finishing up fast.
So it was at the 6-minute mark that Shamrock controlled till the 2-minute mark. And then Severn with the reversal, and he did much more damage in those 2 minutes than Shamrock did in the previous 4.
Shamrock's not phased. You're right. It's going to be a question of the judges' interpretations of the severity of the blows. That's going to what it's really going to come down to here.
First overtime. 3-minute period. Number 1. Now who plays the cautious role?
And who is in the better shape? Both of these warriors, excellent at their skills, physical specimens for their size and age. Heart is now going to be the determining factor.
Heart and possibly that cut.
If that cut is the way it looks like from here, it will open quickly with one punch. You can't stop that punch.
Trouble is, Dan doesn't have a good jab. If he had a jab snapping out there, he could open that up.
Good
But, you know,
point.
he's not much of a striker. He got that cut in there really quick with either an arm or elbow or a punch, but from the outside, he hasn't been real effective with his punches.
And I'll tell you, if this fight continues this way, we may have our first very difficult UFC decision. Three judges, Luther Campbell, Steve Neclia, and Robert Ferguson.
And they're back to the strategy again. Shamrock not moving forward, Severn circling and biding his time and picking a moment when he does want to come in. Shamrock the more successful on the feet before that flurry on the ground, in which he was able to land a couple of combinations.
Halfway through the first overtime. Shamrock in the red trunks, Severn in the black trunks. And they begin the circling on their feet again.
This is our first overtime. We have 1 minute left in the first overtime.
Not much has happened in this overtime.
I don't know if there's been one punch thrown in this overtime. There's been hands up. I think both these athletes really spent a lot of energy in that last 2-3 minutes when Severn got on top.
Shamrock looked over to his corner to get some signal from Funaki to tell him what to do or what he should be doing.
He's moving a little bit more forward now. He's not just pivoting. He's actually taking a little bit of a step with that left foot. Now it's back to pivoting.
Final 30 seconds of the first overtime.
Surprised Severn hasn't tried to open up that cut with just even a jab.
That's all he needs to do is slap it, just pop it with a jab. But they just don't want to take a chance, either fighter.
Uppercut by Shamrock.
That's what he tried. It didn't land though. This overtime coming to a close.
This is a case where both fighters have so much respect for each other that they just don't want to take that chance. See, what Severn should do is he should snap a double jab, triple jab. Just move in, move forward, snap that jab out there.
That is it for the first overtime. That is it for the first overtime. So like the Wings and the Blues last night at adjacent Joe Louis Arena, we go to our second overtime here at the Cobo Arena. And this time it's Shamrock and Severn.
I don't have any clue how to score this fight.
Let's get it all!
No idea how.
Final 3 minutes of this super fight. I think if one guy makes a big move here, this is the final round. You can make the impression on the judges. It's like going into a final round of a regular fight, Don, even.
Absolutely. Right now, this is a 3-minute fight. Anything goes. Nobody has totally dominated one way or the other. Either fighter can win it with some aggressive technique right now.
I think Shamrock's got a lot of little punches in there, Severn the bigger ones.
So do you play to win or do you play to try to not to lose?
I say play to win. I don't know about you. I think this crowd, half of them are on their feet. They want to see two guys fight.
Well, Severn's going to have to do something now. It looks as though Shamrock's finding the range now with those slaps. You would think Severn would want to try that one time to knock Shamrock down, and Shamrock is now moving in on Severn.
Jab by Shamrock.
Well, I'd hate to see the ultimate fight, super fight, won with these slaps. I'd like to see it won by grappling techniques or at least a powerful strike.
And this was one that we really look forward to.
It's hard to live up to that Frye Bitetti fight. That was spectacular.
Well, I think this is also a conflict of styles here. I mean, these guys have adopted this defensive counter-fighting style. Both of them, they won't give it up.
A minute 30 left in this 30-minute fight. And then it'll go to the judges.
Well, they say it comes down to the final minute. This one's going to do the same thing.
And when you deal with warriors with heart, it usually does come down to that.
Don, what do you think's running through their head? Do you think either one thinks they're ahead? Do you think
I
both
think these guys are both thinking about how they can keep from losing. If Dan's thinking, well, if I shoot down, he might get me in something and I could lose. And obviously, Ken doesn't have enough confidence to believe that he could shoot and take him down.
These guys are not afraid to be injured. That's not their mentality at all.
No, they're great fighters, both these guys. I tip my hat off to both of them. They're great fighters, great tacticians. It just doesn't make for a good show when you get these two determined fighters adopt this style of fight.
And that happens a lot in boxing and in other sports where you get styles.
Absolutely.
Styles make a fight.
There was a great fight between Wilfredo Benitez and Sugar Ray Leonard, one of the greatest fights of all time. The audience booed like crazy because it was two technicians.
There goes Shamrock trying to shoot in. Severn gets to his feet, tries to land the knee and does not. Along the wall of the octagon with 10 seconds to go.
There isn't enough time for either of them to do much here.
Severn with a knee, and this one will be coming to a close. There's the horn, it's over.
And boy, I'll tell you, this one's too close to call.
It comes down to the judges. It comes down to Luther Campbell, Steve Neclia, and Robert Ferguson. 3 judges will score the fight. And I'm as perplexed as you, Dragon.
Well, I just got hit by a cigar butt. So, obviously the audience is not very happy.
So we will wait for the decision from the G-Man, Rich Goins. Things are being thrown into the octagon, which you don't like to see at all.
No, but the fans are honest, you know, they're not going to hide their feelings.
Let's go to the G-Man, Rich Goins, for the official decision.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have to go to a judge's decision. First of all, Judge Robert Ferguson scores the fight for Shamrock. Judge Steve Neclia scores the fight for Severn. And finally, Judge Luther Campbell, Big Lou, scores the fight for Severn, the winner.
Dan Severn wins
Dan Severn.
the super fight by decision. And there is the mutual respect that Jeff talked about between these two fighters. Severn has achieved what he wanted to. And now he challenges Royce Gracie in Super Fight 10. That's what Richard Hamilton is holding up. Don, your reaction?
Well, it was too hard to call. I wasn't really scoring it minute by minute, but I will say that Dan Severn did land some pretty solid shots there with that one flurry when he got the advantage. And you know, he was moving around the ring. Obviously, that was his strategy. Here you go. Here's the shoot, takedown. He went for the leg. I thought he had it. He didn't quite get it. He got away. But it was an aggressive move by Severn.
That was at the 8-minute mark.
He did shoot.
Nothing really happened out of that one. Now the reversal by Severn. This came at the 2-minute mark after Shamrock had had control from 6 minutes to 2 minutes. And this is where I think the majority of the blows and the most damage was done in the fight. You agree?
Absolutely. When he got Ken in that position, he landed some good, solid shots.
Here's the end of the second overtime, and looked like Severn was getting in position for control, but you really can't tell.
Yeah, I couldn't say he had the definite advantage. I mean, he was on top, but you know, Ken Shamrock's a dangerous guy even when he's on the bottom.
Split decision victory for Dan Severn, Shamrock's first loss in a super fight. Let's go to Jeff Blatnick and get some reaction from the fighter.
Ken, tell me what you thought of that decision.
It was the right decision, you know. I did something I thought might work, but seemed like he had the same thing in mind, so
he didn't want to go to the ground, so that's why we both kind of had the same thing in mind, trying to see who would make the first mistake. He made the first mistake, and I didn't capitalize on it, so I made a mistake later on in the fight, and he capitalized on it.
Well, it seemed you had the earlier momentum. You landed a couple combinations. He went after you. You got on top. Were you pleased with your performance once you got in that top position?
No, I thought it was a little cautious, you know. But, you know, that's what this is all about. You know, someone makes a mistake and someone doesn't. We made a couple mistakes in there, but neither one of us was able to capitalize on it. He landed more punches, more devastating punches than I landed, you know. It was the right decision. I thought it was a sweep myself, but, you know.
Well, Ken, you're a class act. It's good of you to say that. In defeat, we want to wish you the best of luck with your training. We look forward to seeing you again.
Thanks again.
Back to you, Bruce.
All right, Jeff, so Shamrock always gracious in victory and
Great
gracious
attitude.
in defeat.
And if you remember at one time I said we see the character of a man when he loses. It's easy to be a winner, but you can see there that guy is a champion. In and out of the ring as a man, he showed great character tonight.
And what he said confirmed what we were talking about towards the end of the fight, how styles were so similar that it didn't make for an exciting fight, and Shamrock realizes that cost him.
Right, well, he said we had the same thing in mind, waiting for the other guy to make the first mistake and then capitalize. And he did not capitalize, as he said, and Dan was able to land the more powerful telling blows and reverse him and capitalize when he got on top.
Dan Severn making his way out of the octagon, and when he does, Jeff Blatnick will corner the Beast, who every time he's wanted to atone for something has done it. UFC 4, he lost the final to Gracie. He came back to win UFC 5. He lost at Shamrock in the UFC 6 super fight. He came back and atoned that with a victory tonight.
Great performance.
Let's go to Jeff Blatnick somewhere in that mess. Jeff? Jeff, take it away when you can.
Okay, Dan, congratulations. Did you feel you were ahead when the overtimes ended?
Well, I'll tell you, you asked me questions the day before. I really couldn't say anything. This was going to be a match of duration, is what I really figured on there. Ken's a very patient warrior out there. I could just sense he was waiting for me to shoot, to go for that guillotine choke. I knew that surprised him. He come out the gloves, although I'm not that effective of a striker out there, but I think it had a little bit of intimidating factor in the fact that I connected 3 times. Cut him on one side, cut him on the other side. I think that surprised him. Now the shot, now that's what was scary, because I shot towards the end. When we got towards the gate, I saw him starting to come under. I knew he was going for his patented underarm to that knee bar. I had to drop all the way real quick. Stop him. I thought he still might create the power off that fence. Just scramble. Thankfully, we were pretty sweaty.
Well, I'll tell you what, we've never seen you in the guard position before. You did pretty well there, but I think you took a huge chance. You sensed that it was slipping away, and you reversed it.
I took a little punishment underneath there, Jeff. I was trying to keep my head as tight as possible so I would not expose soft tissue area. I mean, I could use a couple of Excedrin right about now from a few shots that I had, but I figured I would try to lull him into a little bit of confidence on top there, which, I mean, really not that a confidence level, but he is so good on top. So I just thought, just hang in there. Sooner or later, either the match is going to end in regulation time or something.
Well, Dan, congratulations, a well-earned victory. We look forward to seeing you again in the UFC. Back to you, Bruce.
All right, thank you very much, Jeff Blatnick. So Severn, the man from Coldwater, prevails. Don't forget, you too can learn to fight UFC style. Here's how. Hey, UFC fans, whether you're a martial arts expert or just someone who wants to learn the secrets of no-holds-barred fighting for the greats of the UFC, we've created the Secrets of the Octagon instructional video series just for you. It's a 5-volume set featuring your favorite UFC fighters sharing their secrets for success. Shamrock, Severn, Taktarov, and Hackney teach you strikes, takedowns, and shoots, submissions, escapes, and finally training and conditioning. All this for the price of $59.95 each, or save $100 by ordering the complete set of 5 for only $199.95. And when you order the entire series, you'll receive absolutely free an official UFC hat, t-shirt, and poster program. Plus, if you're not completely satisfied, return the tapes undamaged within 30 days and keep the bonuses. It's the ultimate guarantee on the Ultimate Martial Arts video series. To order the Secrets of the Octagon, call 1-800-237-8400, extension 630. Have your Visa or MasterCard ready. Call now. Final CompuServe results, 83% to 17%. Should women be allowed to compete in the UFC? Overwhelmingly, yes, say the people, thanks to Kevin Neenan of CompuServe tonight. Fight fans, you can buy it in stores, and unless you're here with us tonight, you can't buy it in person. Here's how to get your official Ultimate Championship gear. The Ultimate Fighting Championship. This event is not for the faint of heart.
Now you can own the official UFC 9 fightwear. Take home the UFC 9 baseball cap or the UFC 9 t-shirt. Also available are other official UFC Ultimate apparel. Let's get it on, man! Know the fighters, their stories, and their stats. You can also own the UFC 9 official commemorative program. Don't miss the action. Call for past events now available on video. Have your credit card ready and call 1-800-525-6465.
Well, don't forget, July 12th is when Jeff and I will be bringing you UFC 10 live from Providence Civic Center in Rhode Island. Tickets going fast for this one, so get yours early. Call 1-401-331-2211. Reserve your place to witness martial arts history in the making. You'll be seeing the winner of tonight's super fight bout, Dan Severn, plus a new card of Fight Great. So make sure and call now. So that's it from Cobo Arena in Detroit. Many thanks to Jeff Platnick, Don the Dragon Wilson, and to our Octagon announcer, Rich G-Man Goins. Also, much thanks to Campbell McLaren for all of his help during this UFC trail. We thank you for your input, suggestions, and leadership. I'm Bruce Beck saying good night from Cobo Arena in Detroit, Michigan. Severn wins the super fight over Shamrock in a split decision.